जयव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाद्य सर्वलौकिक दृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राणा श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिदन्तो तितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाथाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेवाय श्री कृष्णाय नमोस्तुते। मद एक बंधु मद संगेन मद गुरुन् मद महाधन मद निष्ठारक मद भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते। असाधु साधु तादाइन अति नीचता हा नामुंता कदातिन मम प्रेम न हृत कंथयो स्पुरः। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining. So we are discussing Canto 3, chapter number 15, description of the kingdom of God. So we are towards the end of this chapter. So a very beautiful chapter. So we read in this chapter, I think last class, our main theme of the discussion was the description of the kingdom of God. And why are we coming to this and who is speaking here? What is the conversation? What is the flow of the Bhagavatam at this point? You know, like to say?
Brahmaji is speaking, Prabhu, to the demigods who have seen all darkness around. They're not being able, they know the reason. They've come for the solution.
Yeah.
And what is the solution of darkness is that Diti's pregnancy with Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu.
Perfect. Yeah. So previous chapter we saw how, Diti, she actually approached Kashyap Muni and how she approached at the wrong time and how Kashyap Muni predicted that because everything was wrong in this union, hence, two sons would be actually will be born, which will create so much havoc, will create disturbance all around the world. But the blessing is they will actually be killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And also the blessing is that the grandson of these personalities will, or your grandson or the son of these personalities will be the great devotee, Sri Prahlad Maharaj. And then because Diti did not want to create that disturbance, so she held the pregnancy in her womb for 100 years, right? And then because of that, because she was holding her pregnancy, then darkness spread everywhere, and the darkness was so by the force of Diti's pregnant darkness that spread everywhere, that actually caused the disturbance to the demigods. The demigods could not actually do their seva properly, could not function. So whenever there's problems, the demigods, they come to Brahma and then say, Brahmaji, we have this problem, please solve this problem of this darkness that is spreading due to Diti's holding these two, holding the semen of Kashyapa in her womb. Right? And then we see how Brahmaji, he actually, as such, he doesn't give a solution, but he actually tells, okay, let me tell you a story and let me speak Harikatha, because finally Harikatha is the solution of all problems. So he starts off by saying about the four sons, 4S, we'll just say 4S, how the 4S, they actually travel through material and spiritual world, and they actually travel everywhere, not for any like sightseeing or their own desire, right? They travel to actually give knowledge. And then Brahmaji, as soon as he was saying that how these 4S, they actually came to the doors of Vaikuntha, then immediately he gave a whole description of Vaikuntha, right? So we discussed that the last class was our main theme of discussion was that description of Vaikuntha. And then towards the end of the description, then Brahmaji comes and says, who is qualified to enter Vaikuntha? Who is actually not qualified, right? So basically, he makes a point that those who do not hear the glories of Vaikuntha, but Anya, they hear other unworthy topics, and by which they actually bewilder their own intelligence. For them, they are actually forced into hell, and they will never actually enter Vaikuntha. Right? And then further, actually, he made the point that devotees who will qualify to enter Vaikuntha, devotees, when they hear this Hari Katha, then what happens? They experienced symptoms of ecstasy, right? Those on hearing this Harikatha, there is changes in their body, they perspire, they breathe heavily. On hearing the glories of the Lord, when they experience all these symptoms, that means they are actually qualified to enter into Vaikuntha. Right? And yeah, so he talked over this, and also they talked over, like Brahmaji says, how human form of life is so special, right? So special that even demigods, up to Brahmaji himself, he wants to come down and he wants to take birth as a human being because he wants to hear this Harikatha. And just in the short period of hearing Harikatha, he wants to go enter into Vaikuntha. Right? So after the description, then he comes to the episode how the four Kumaras they actually reached the gates of Vaikuntha, and they crossed six gates without any problem, right? So it actually said that because they are like innocent, like they because they had that child body, though they were like they were the sons of Brahma, so one way they were very aged, but because they had maintained this body of innocent children, they were not stopped at any of the gates, and they themselves did not make any difference between ours and theirs. They saw everything as it's all finally they saw with an equal vision because they were Brahman realized, they self-realized. So they just actually started walking through the six gates without even taking any permission. And finally, when they came to the seventh gate, we hear how, because they had no ideas of ours and theirs, and they started entering the seventh gate, but then the doorkeeper stopped them, right? And here the important word is the door Jai and Vijay stopping them is actually an action which is Bhagavad Pratikula Shila, right? Bhagavad Pratikula. So the act of stopping the four Kumaras from entering inside is an act which is actually Bhagavad Pratikula, which is actually displeasing to the Lord, right? And why is it displeasing? Because today we'll see how the Lord actually glorifies the Brahmanas and how Lord is Namo Brahmanya Devaya. He loves the Brahmanas so much that when these Brahmanas were actually blocked, that was a act that was not pleasing to the Lord. Right? And then we see that how actually first Jay and Vijay, when they saw these four Kumara entering without taking permission, and their eyebrows were all described was what? Yeah, they appear somewhat agitated with arched eyebrows and discontent nostrils and reddish eyes, right? And then the four Kumaras, when they were stopped, then immediately what happens? Kama Anuja, right? We discussed this. Kama Anuja, who is the younger brother of Kama, lust, that is anger. Anger appeared in these four Kumaras. And the anger appeared because their desire to see the Lord was actually blocked. Right? Was actually blocked. So hence they became angry. And then the four Kumara actually make the point that how is it possible? Right? We saw the words like Kim. How is it possible that those who are actually engaged in that highest service, highest service to the Lord, right there in Vaikuntha, how are they having this discordant mentality, right? Vishama Swabhava, right? And then where is possibility of any enemy coming here, right? And then so making this point, they said that you must be actually imposters. Otherwise, having this position in Vaikuntha, how can you make this difference? How can you have this kind of a mentality? It's not possible, and basically they make a point. Then why is there fear among you, right? In Vaikuntha, there's complete harmony between the residents and the Lord. Then why is there fear? Right? And we read this point that how because the four Kumaras of Brahman realized, so they're making the point that finally everything is within the abdomen of the Lord, because everything comes from the navel of the Lord. So everything is within the abdomen. So everything is actually all spiritual. Where is the question of seeing that difference, that disconnect, ours and theirs mentality? So how can you stop? And then the four Kumaras were actually thinking that they need to be punished. But how they need to be punished? We want to punish them in such a way which will actually be beneficial for them, right? And how will that punishment be beneficial? In a way that it will actually there are three things, right? One is they wanted to punish them in such a way that it will remove their mentality of seeing the difference. Second, it will actually the punishment should be removing their offense of stopping a brahmana, and third, their offense of insulting the Lord. Right. So these three were acts which are actually not favorable, and the four Kumaras wanted to punish them in such a way that all these negative things which actually be this offense of these negative things which actually be removed, right? Hence, they were silent for a minute and they were thinking like, okay, what will the best punishment, which will actually be kind of, you know, what's the right word, to actually remove their offenses, will actually nullify their offense. So they were thinking in that way. They were silent for a moment and then they said, Lokan itaha vrajatam. So from here you go to the Lokan. Vraja means go to the Lokan. And where you should go, which Lokan? That Lokan where the three kinds of enemies, lust, anger and greed reside. So go down to the material world. That is our curse. Right? So they cursed the Jay and Vijay. And then we read that as soon as they were cursed, what did Jay and Vijay do? And we talked about this. So this was our ending theme last time. That, after the curse, like practically in our life, when something happens, what more? We talked about the 1090 principle, that things will happen in our life, but what really matters is how we actually respond to those situations, right? And here, because Jay and Vijay were actually devotees of the Lord, and particularly, and the word that we read is Hari Anucharan. Anucharan means they were devotees of the Lord. And because they were devotees, immediately they could actually understand their mistake and they fell down at the feet of the four Kumaras. And right. So first, okay, yeah, because they were devotees of the Lord, first they could understand what actually, what mistake they have done. They understood their mistake, and then they, being Uru Bhivityaha, so this is third text 35, Uru Bhivitya, very much fearful of the Lord, Tat Pada Grahana Apa Tam. They fell down, grasping the feet, right, in great anxiety. Hmm. Right. And this was our theme, what we ended with last time, that, their reaction could have been that, oh, like we are just doing a job. Why are you cursing us? Or they could have said, counter curse, or they could have denied any mistake, or, there's so many other things they could have done. But now, immediately they took shelter of humility and they actually fell at the feet, right? And they actually begged so what did they ask for? That was text 36, right? So this is where we stop, text 36. Um, right. So let's read 36. Uh,
Text 36.
yeah.
Yargoni Bhagavan Bir Akari Dando Yono Hareta Surahela Nam Apyashesham Mavo Nutapa Kalaya Bhagavat Smritigno Moho Bhavet Ihatuno Rajator Adhodha. I don't have the list yet, so anyone could start. Please.
After being cursed by the sages, the doorman said, "It is quite apt that you have punished us for neglecting to respect sages like you. But we pray that due to our compassion at our repentance, the illusion of forgetting the Supreme Personality of Godhead will not come upon us as we go to progressively downward." Hare Krishna.
I think we discussed this first. So basically here, as soon as the four Kumaras see that reaction of Jay and Vijay, that how they are like immediately falling at the feet and begging for forgiveness, they understood that, oh, actually they are devotees of the Lord. What have we done? We have cursed devotees of the Lord and we have actually offended the Lord himself. So they're thinking in that way that, oh, we made a mistake by cursing these devotees. We have offended the Lord. And then they were actually thinking, how is it possible that we became conquered by this kama anuja, this anger? How come we became conquered by anger? We are actually sons of Brahma and we are known as peaceful saints, in Vaikuntha. Because they are the four Brahman realized, so one way they are at that platform of equanimity. So there's no question of anger, hate, distress, and all those things. So they were thinking like people know us as the people, as sages, who are always peaceful. But now see, we have been conquered by anger. Our reputation of being peaceful sages has actually now been destroyed in Vaikuntha. Right? So on one side, Jay and Vijay were repenting for their act, and here the four Kumaras are repenting for their action. Right? But what the Jay and Vijay actually said, here it says, Bhuyat agoni bhavadi akari, right? Let the curse given by you to us remain, right? So whatever you have done is right. Let that remain. Now hareta sura helana. Why? Because we actually neglected to respect sages like you. Because we neglected respecting you, you have cursed us, so that punishment is very apt. You did, that's apt. We accept that punishment. Right. So because they are saying that this punishment, what you're giving, it should destroy the offense committed in Vaikuntha to the Lord and yourself. And then he says, Antapa kalaya. But we have shown remorse caused by your mercy. So here they are saying, yes, we accept the punishment, but see, we are actually showing remorse. We are lamenting. We are saying that, oh, sorry, right? We are begging that. So because of that, right, because of our mood of repentance, then Ma Bhagavat Smriti Na Moha Bhavet Iha. Right? So this is the main key where they say Ma Bhagavat. Ma means no. Smriti. Smriti means remembrance. So we pray that the illusion of forgetting the Supreme Personality of Godhead will not come upon us as we we progressively go downward into this material world. Right? So basically they're saying that certainly by your curse, when we go to the material world, there will be obstacles of rendering this service to you. Right? Because in the Vaikuntha, they are 24/7 engaged in service to the Lord of Vaikuntha. They are right there as doorkeepers. So they're saying, yes, there will be an obstacle to a service and we'll be bewildered by not continuously serving the Lord. But let that bewilderment itself produce some kind of a smriti or remembrance of the Lord. And that's exactly the case with Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, and the other personalities, that yes, they were bewildered, but that bewilderment itself caused remembrance of the Lord. Right? Because Hiranyakashipu, after Hiranyaksha was killed, was always thinking, oh, Vishnu has killed my brother. Vishnu has killed my brother. I need to take revenge. So he was constantly thinking of actually Vishnu. Right? And then we see how in the 7th canto, 1st chapter, that entire section is there where Narad Muni is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj, and he actually makes the point that even through calm, he says like so many things, either through lust or through envy or through anger, like whatever, if somehow or other, if one remembers the Lord, then he'll get purified. Right? The whole point is that to develop remembrance. Right? So Narad Muni makes the point that whatever is the mood in which the remembrance is coming, as long as there's a remembrance, for sure there will be deliverance, there will be auspiciousness. Right? So let us be bewildered, but let that bewilderment produce remembrance of the Lord, smriti. Right? And the Prabhupada in the purport, he starts off with any heavy punishment can be tolerated by a devotee except forgetfulness of the Lord. Whatever happens, we don't want to forget the Lord. Right? Wherever we are sent, we don't want to forget the Lord. Right? So for any activity causing forgetfulness of the Lord is intolerable to a devotee. Hence, devotee, they tolerate all kinds of reversals that enhance remembrance of the Lord. Right? Queen Kunti's prayer. She's asking for more and more reversals. Why? Because when the reversals are, Krishna will personally be there, and hence there will be direct connection and remembrance of Krishna. Okay. So Prabhupada in this purport also quotes Bhagavad Gita chapter 16. Right. So he says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 16 verses 19 and 20, it is said that those who are envious of the Lord and his devotees are thrown into the species of abominable life. Right. So basically they are expecting that now we are going to go into lower species of life. And lower species of life means that one will be in life after life. Such fools are unable to remember. So 16, 19 and 20 actually says, Tan aham dushata kruran samsareshu naradhama shipamya ajashram asubham Asureshu eva yonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into an ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Right? So basically, they are already expecting that they will be now be pushed into like a demoniac species of life. Right? Asurim yonim apanna mudha janmani mam aprapyaiva kaunteya tato yante adhamam gatim. All attaining repeated birth among the lower species, O son of Kinti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink into the most abominable type of existence. So Prabhupada is quoting these two verses to actually make the point that how Jay and Vijay were expecting that now we are going to go into like demoniac species. We are going to take birth in the lower species. And lower species means who are cast into lower species? Those who are envious of the Lord, right? So, but still they're saying like, that is normally a thing, but somehow or other we are requesting that because we are repentant, we are begging forgiveness, you actually bless us that we always have smriti of the Lord. Okay, now 37, what happens?
Evam tadaiva bhagavan naravindanaabha swanam vibhudya sat akitramam arya ridyaha tasmin yayo paramahamsa mahamuninam anveshaniya charano chalayan sahashri.
At that very moment, the Lord, who is called Padmanabha because of his lotus grown from his navel, and who is the delight of the righteous, learned about the insult offered by his own servants to the saints. Accompanied by his spouse and the goddess of fortune, he went to the spot on those very feet sought by recluses and the great sages.
So now, evam, thus the Lord himself appeared. Tada eva, at that very moment. What moment? The moment where the four Kumaras are feeling that repentance in their heart for cursing Jay and Vijay. And Jay and Vijay are feeling remorse, repentance in the heart for actually stopping these four Kumaras. Because on both the sides, there is that mood of humility, right? That mood of humility that, oh, we made a mistake. We have offended the Lord. Both of them are thinking that Jay and Vijay are thinking, we did an action that is displeasing to the Lord. Four Kumaras are actually thinking, oh, they are actually, Jay and Vijay are, they are associates of the Lord. And we have done something which is displeasing to the Lord. So both of them in that mood of inner humility arising from committing offense to each other, they are in that mood. And by that inner humility, they actually, both of them were actually purified of their fault, and they realized, the four Kumaras realized the meaning of being a devotee, and the Jay and Vijay realized the meaning of being the Brahmana. Right? So both of them had a mood of realization of who is the other side and the mood of inner humility. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually says that this verse proves the point that that inner humility attracts bhakti. Right? And then bhakti attracts the Lord. So that's why we had discussed this point earlier, that how dainya and prema are like synonyms. If you have that true inner humility, then prema of the Lord will manifest in your heart. Dainya and prema, right? So if the inner humility is not there, there is no question of prema. So because that inner humility was there in the heart, then that attracted bhakti. And wherever bhakti is there, then the Lord is immediately attracted by that. And hence, at that moment, immediately he actually came out, right? So, yeah, okay, then let's continue. So here it says, Bhagwan Aravinda Nabha, right? So who is the Lord? The Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose navel the lotus Aravinda actually grows, right? And Vibhuddha, right? As soon as he learned what was happening outside, Atikramam means the insult to the sages by Swanam. So here it clearly makes a point. He's calling Jay and Vijay what? Swanam. They are my own people, Jay and Vijay, and they have insulted the sages, right? So hence the Lord, who is Arya Hridaya means that who appears in the heart of the worthy, right? So why is this word Arya Hridaya used? That basically here the point is being made that yes, the Lord appears in the heart of those who are actually qualified. And here basically the Gyanis or the Dhyani yogis, he appears in the heart. But that same Lord who is Arya Hridaya is now going to give personal darshan to the four Kumaras. So why is the Lord is actually coming out to show the four Kumaras that beyond your Brahman effulgence is that attraction, that sweetness of seeing the person form the Lord. So one of the reasons for the Lord appearance is actually, I will inundate these Gyanis in an astonishing ocean of great bliss by giving them the experience of my own feet. So hence it says here, Tasmin appear there. How did they appear? Chalayan. Chalayan means walking. We never hear this that the Lord is appearing walking. But the point is stressed, Chalayan, and then further it says Charano, right? They're walking on his Charana, two lotus feet. The Lord came walking on his two lotus feet, and those lotus feet, which are Anvesanaya, Paramahamsa, and Mahamuni. Those lotus feet which are sought by the Paramahamsas and the Mahamunis, the great renunciates and great sages, they're always aspiring to get those lotus feet. The Lord walked on those two lotus feet and came outside, right? Knowing what had happened, how his own men had actually insulted the sages. And here, so the point is, the Lord was thinking that these Gyanis, they are absorbed in Brahman realization, but I'm going to give I'm going to inundate them with an astonishing ocean of great bliss by giving the experience of my lotus feet. And hence he actually walked on those lotus feet. Right? Okay. And then also then the last words that say Sahashri. Sahashri along with Lakshmi. Why is that stressed here so much? Along with Lakshmi. Because the point is here that these four Kumaras, they do not know the energy that is arising from my own Swarup, right? See, they do not, when we say like, okay, the impersonalist, okay, let's put it like this. So Brahman realized, right? Paramatma realized, Bhagavan realized. Brahman realized is the realization of what? The Sat feature, right? Paramatma is realizing as Sat and Chit. Only devotees, Bhagwan realization is Sat, Chit and Anand. And what is that Ananda? That Ananda is a manifestation of the Haladini potency of the Lord. And what is Haladini potency of the Lord? That is actually represented by Srimati Radharani or here Lakshmi. So basically, it is stressed that he came with Lakshmi to actually give them this bliss of the Haladini potency. They say they don't have that access, but now let them see that highest Ananda, which they were actually not having that. Hence, he actually came with Lakshmi. And then Prabhupada in the purport, he quotes this point. He says, Shipram bhavati bharmatma shasva shantim nikachati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashati. The devotees, they cannot be vanquished. Therefore, the Lord, as soon as he heard that this had happened, immediately he came to the place. Immediately he came to the place. Okay. So, this goes back to that important point that we were discussing last time, that the Jay and Vijay could have reacted in so many other ways. When they were cursed, they could have actually counter-cursed. Or they would say like, it's not our mistake. We are just doing our job. Why are you cursing us? They could have reacted in any other way, right? But by their acting in this mood of humility and repentance, though at that point, it is like they are accepting, okay, we made a mistake, right? And Prabhupada in his purpose, he actually makes the point that by chance that mistake was made by the Jay and Vijay. It wasn't like a mistake out of envy, or sometimes you may say something out of envy that, oh, you are so and so, or out of anger. But it was by chance the mistake has been done. And if by chance a mistake is made, then the person may actually just say, no, it was just a small thing, just accidental, something happened. But here, immediately, and one may justify one's mistake, one may counter curse, one may do so many things. But by doing that action of immediately taking shelter of humility, begging forgiveness, though at that point they, you know, I'm making the point that there are two people, okay, like two persons, and they are having some kind of argument. So even though one person may lose that argument, but by taking shelter of humility, he is actually attracting the mercy of the Lord. Right? And we made this point last time. What is more important? Is it more important to prove that we are right? Or is it more important to actually get the mercy of the Lord? So here that's why this point is so amazing, that just because they took shelter of inner humility, the Lord was attracted. And the Lord personally came just for them. Just for them. So Lord was thinking, I'm going to inundate these jnanis with the bliss of my lotus feet. That was first point. Second, I'm going to make them taste this Halladini potency. Second point. And third, these, my own devotees, Swana, have actually are in a situation where they are cursed. So I will go and I'll protect them. For these three reasons, the Lord actually appeared. So I mentioned this point last time, how, we'll read this further also, that when there's a description of the Lord, it says how the Lord's hand was actually on the shoulder of Garuda. Now, when the Lord came, we don't read about whether he came on Garuda. It says he walked on his lotus feet. So when we say Lord, always when he comes on Garuda. Why did he walk? Right? So he walked because he wanted to give the bliss of the lotus feet. That's there. But also the point that is made that because his own devotees were cursed, and the Lord loves his own devotees so much that he immediately said, I don't want to wait for anyone, and ran just to the spot to actually stop any further thing that could go wrong. Right? So that's also an indication of the love of the Lord for his own associates. Okay. And then after he arrived there, then Garuda also came, and then he kept his hand on the shoulder of Garuda. It's okay, you're also there. I'm going to use you. But now there was urgent situation. I had to come on my own. So in that way, he actually not just came. Okay. So that's 37, right? So
Prabhu,
yeah.
Prabhu, are they both such as like they're Paramatmavadis also, or they're just impersonalists like Brahman?
Here the stress has given on Brahman realized.
So that means by giving darshan to the Lord, they're not only Bhagavan is not only giving them like 3 steps ahead, like they're jumping over, Paramatma realization
We have, we have
straight.
to, we have to understand like the situation of the four Kumaras. Like how come they are going to Vaikuntha and how come they are only Brahman realized? Do they not know the personal feature of the Lord?
Mm.
I mean, if they didn't have the knowledge of the personal feature of the Lord, why would they actually go to Vaikuntha to see the Lord? So the point is that yes, these four Kumaras, they know about the personal way. Knowledge is there, but the realization of the
Realization.
is not there. Like, just like for us, we may hear, beautiful verses like Bhara, Pidam, Natavara, and we may have the knowledge, but is the attraction there at this point? May not. So similarly, for these four Kumaras, the knowledge was there, but the attraction was not there. That connection, that realization of the beauty of the personal form was not there. Right? So that's why they're going to see the Lord. And that's when now we'll read how the transformation will actually occur.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you said the 3 reasons why the Lord came. So I understand that he gave them the personal darshan, and also he came with Lakshmi ji because he wanted to give them the highest ananda. Prabhuji, what's the third one?
Third is like his own devotees are now cursed, right? Like the Lord is so, Jaya and Vijay is so dear to them. In the next chapter, we'll see how the Lord is actually taking responsibility for anything that the Jaya and Vijay have done. And he actually makes a point next verse. Next chapter, we'll see. He'll say, like, for that mistake, I will cut off my own hand because they are my own. Jay and Vijay. So to actually stop from further this situation, They actually lost it. Immediately he came. Immediately he's like, okay, I want to protect my own devotees. Hence Prabhupada in the purport quotes that Kaunteya pratijanihi na me bhakta parishati. My devotees are never vanquished. Prabhupada in one of the purports also he makes the point that even in Vaikuntha, there may be offenses. There may be an offense done, but when an offense is done in Vaikuntha, the Lord will personally come and protect those devotees. Proper. It'll come later in the purport, so we'll discuss that when we come to that point. Okay. Any other comments or questions up to this point?
Prabhuji, you also said that knowledge does not give prema. You were saying something about knowledge.
Yes, not that I didn't say knowledge does not give prema. My point was you may have the knowledge, but you may not have attraction. Right? Someone may be at that stage that I know about the personal form of the Lord, but I do not have an attraction to the form of the Lord. So that is the situation of the four commands. They have the knowledge. They know Lord is a person, but they don't have the attraction. So hence they are only Brahman realized, not Bhagavan realized.
Prabhuji, one question on when the argument comes winning the argument is not important. How do we take that in mundane perspective, Prabhuji? In office world or in general?
I mean, here we are talking of mainly interactions with Vaishnavas. That's the point. Like
Yes.
this, both the Brahmanas are there and the Vaishnavas are there, that they are dealing. So that's the point. But outside world, we have to be like, how Narad Muni's story about Narad Muni's disciple who was a snake. Right? We know the story, right? How Narad made a snake his devotee, and then because the snake became a devotee, then the children all, because then he was not biting anyone, he became very shanta, very peaceful, right? And then the children started coming and started hurting the snake. And next time Narad Muni came to the snake and he saw the snake was really sad. And he said, like, what happened? He said, now because I've become a devotee, I've become your disciple, I have, people are misusing me. And they are actually hurting me, and because I don't take any reaction, I don't snake normally they bite, so I'm not biting anyone. They are actually throwing stones at me and troubling me. So Narad Muni said, yeah, I told you, don't cause unnecessary trouble to others, but that does not mean you cannot show your fangs. A snake can do that, but he will not bite, right? So that way Narad Muni was saying that yes, for the outside world, we cannot just be like, yeah, that person is doing this, I'll just, I mean, we have to use our intelligence and see how to deal with the outside world. So when there's arguments in the outside world, then based on the circumstance, we may have to say like, oh, no, this is the right thing to do, and so on and so forth. And I mean, your question is very much based on who you're dealing with, what is the circumstance, what point are you trying to prove. But here we are talking mainly interaction between devotees. In between devotees also, there's arguments are always there. Something or the other will come. But in that is where we actually find the point that is it more important to prove ourselves right, or is it more important that we take shelter of humility? Like, see, finally, what Krishna sees is a response to our situation. The situation is anyway going to come, based on our karma or whatever. That situations will come. But what Krishna is seeing is how is my devotee going to respond in that situation? And based on that response, we'll see how Krishna will, reciprocate with that person. And here, because of the response of Jai and Vijay, immediately, and we see how the Lord actually reciprocates with them. Okay, let's continue. Next verse. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anyone else have a question?
Prabhu, I have a quick question. Hare Krishna. So there are a couple of things that that kind of is not adding up, and I don't know if later on it will be disclosed. But the four Kumaras, they should not have been conquered by anger.
Yes.
The two gods, they should not have thought about, the duality aspect should not have come to their mind. And third, Krishna knowing that Vishnu knowing that all of this is going to happen, he could have come there even before the curse was given.
Yeah.
So all of these three things, it almost feels like it was staged and that there was a reason. So is the reason being disclosed later on?
Yeah, so it will come later on. Like, why is this whole thing happening? So that's why Prabhupada makes a point in the purport that, that stopping of Jay and Vijay, stopping the four Kumara, it was not an intentional act out of envy or out of disregard or out of disrespect. It was by chance. They just stopped and they wanted to like, okay, you're entering, but we want to see like who you are. Like, they just wanted to have that conversation. So it was by chance that it happened. And when for pure devotees, something happens by chance. Like even the example of like Parikshit Maharaj. I mean, he's a pure devotee. In Bhagavatam, we read like chapters where it's describing the glories of the devotion of Parikshit Maharaj. And then what did he do? When Shamik Rishi was meditating, he took that dead snake and he put a garland on Shamik Rishi. I mean, that is an act which is like totally not expected from a personality like Parikshit. But why did that happen? For pure devotees, because so that the entire Bhagavatam could be spoken. So similarly here, when it happens with pure devotees of the Lord, something like this happens, then certainly the Lord has another plan which he wants it to be manifested. And here, the main plan, the main point, which will come later in the end of the next chapter, is that finally Lord himself wanted to experience a kind of rasa known as Veera rasa. Veera rasa means there is a kind of fun in even like fighting. So Lord, that's also like, when you talk of the different mellows, the one of the mellows is the mellow of fighting. And like Prabhupada also gives an example that sometimes a father also like he'll tell his small son that come, let's fight, right? And there's like actually fighting, a father is fighting. I mean, there's no chance that the father will be defeated, but just he wants to enjoy that mood of rasa of that fight, you know. So similarly, the Lord also wants to enjoy. He wants to enjoy all the rasas. But who is there to fight in Vaikuntha? I mean, no one will fight. So hence he actually sent his own servant down and he said, you go down and you take these forms of Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, and then Shishupal, Dandavakra, and then Ravan, Kumbhakarna. You take these forms, and then I will come, and then we'll fight, and we'll have fun. We'll have fun. So internally, the highest reason for this whole thing is that the Lord wanted to experience that Virya Rasa. So that is one level. But also at that point, like we can say, okay, yes, that is the overarching theme behind the whole thing is the Lord wanted this entire pastime to take place for him to enjoy the Veera Rasa. But at the same time, when we are reading the pastime, we can actually learn so many practical lessons. Oh, why did this happen? Why this happen? And how did they respond? All those lessons are there for us to learn.
So probably was it not that Jay Vijay wanted to have an existence different from the Lord? That was never the reason.
No. I mean, they are like pure devotees of the
So-
Lord. They are associates of the
So,
Lord. Yeah.
okay. So whatever happens is because the Lord wants to experience something. So our existence in this world could also be that probably Lord wants something, some experience from us, and which is why we are here, and not because we wanted a separate existence. Like if that
The point I said is actually more for pure devotee. Because even if you see Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, even when they came here, where they connected with the Lord, yeah, they were always thinking of the Lord. But it wasn't in a favorable way. But they were always thinking of the Lord. So there was always that connection was there. So for pure devotees, it is true. But for us as conditioned jivas, the reason we are here in this world is that we turned away from Krishna, the forgetfulness of Krishna, and hence we are here. So when things happen with us, it is because of our own conditioning, our envy, our lust, our anger, our greed, because we are not in contact. Because of our forgetfulness of Krishna, the things are happening. But for pure devotees, it is like Krishna's hand in everything, right? Krishna's is planning things for them to happen in such a way that a bigger purpose is actually being served. But for us, we are conditioned jiva. So our whole point is somehow or other we have to connect to Krishna. So anything that we do in this world, we have to see how we can actually use that situation to connect to Krishna. We cannot say that, oh, Krishna is actually making this happen to me. And finally, it's Krishna's hand, but through the acts of karma, we may get so many things, right? But it's not Krishna's direct desire that, we do this, and so on. Is that okay, Mataji?
I still have questions, but something is not clicking about. So, were we as conditioned souls never in Vaikuntha in the first place? Is that what you're saying now, that conditioned souls were never part of Vaikuntha? They came into being directly on
Yes.
planet Earth, and
Yeah, so this is a bigger question, which is kind of a question that has always been like a kind of a question of debate and discussion that, where we actually make, like Prabhupada often made the point, yes, we were in Vaikuntha, but because we chose to turn away from Krishna, we said like, oh, why not we? Like everyone is serving Krishna, why not me? And as soon as we think that, Krishna says, okay, if that's your desire, come to material world. Try to be Krishna. And that's why we fall. That's why we come here, right? And here, when we come, we want to be the enjoyer. We want to become the controller, which is actually Krishna's role of being the enjoyer and the controller. And that's what we try to do, right? So that is our situation, that we turn away from Krishna, hence we came. But Jay and Vijay, even after the curse, what is their prayer? Like, even if you fall down, we want to always stay connected with you, always have the smriti of you. And that is the main difference between the falling of Jay and Vijay and our fall. Our fall is because of a disconnect with Krishna. Their fall is still in connection with Krishna. Mata is still not convinced.
yeah, I'm a little bit, but let's continue. Maybe we can talk about this later.
Yeah. So our fall is
Thank you.
basically we say like,
Hare
why Krishna is being served? Let me be in the center, and then we fall down and so on.
Prabhu, I think in this context, isn't it the free will also comes because when you said like the moment they reacted differently, Krishna decided to use to enjoy his rasa. So not necessarily everything is predestined. How we also choose the path, and that path, if we are in like if we are pure devotees, then Krishna will automatically use that path to come to him. Just like see how just the moment they had the repentance and both are repenting and they want to remember Lord, that could have been, as you said, there are two other ways that could have happened, justifying the act and then recursing. Then God wouldn't have come.
Yes.
Then Krishna wouldn't have come. Or all those things. Even Jayavidya, Hiranyakashipu would have been some other people if Lord anyways he wants to be, fighting with them. But the situation here comes in, yes, the Lord's the situations arises because of our karma or Krishna's desire. Karma when we are fallen devotees, Krishna's desire when we are pure devotees. But then how do we react? Makes the next phase. Like, are we
Yes.
going more closer to Krishna or going far away from Krishna?
So it is basically under whose shelter are we acting?
Yeah, internal potency.
Are we acting under Yoga Maya or Mahamaya? Right? So if we are, so Jay and Vijay are still acting under Yoga Maya itself. The whole thing about stopping is still a part of Krishna's plan. But when we act, we are acting under Mahamaya. Both of them are finally under Krishna's control, but one of them is where there's forgetfulness of Krishna. One of them, there's always connection with Krishna. Okay, so let's continue. So next 5 verses describes the sweetness of the Lord. Like, so now the Lord has come and the 4 Kumaras are seeing the Lord. And now there is a description of how they take darshan of the Lord. It's such a beautiful section. So 38, let's continue.
Tam tvagatam pratiritopaikam swapumbis te chakshataksha vishayam swasamadhibhagyam. Hamsashriyo Vyajanayo Shiva Vayulolach Shubhrata Patra Shashikeshara Shikaram.
Okay, so let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, one more problem. Let's just see from word to word. So here it says te akshata. Like second line you say te akshata. Achaksh, sorry, achaksh. A achakshata, right? Te achakshata means the four Kumaras they saw. And what they see? Agatam tam. They saw the Lord coming forward. And when they saw the Lord coming forward, then what they see? Swapumbi pratihrita aupaya ikam. They saw the Lord coming. Did he come alone? No, the Lord was coming with his own associates carrying paraphernalia. So the Lord was coming with associates, and the associates were carrying the paraphernalia. And then it is described Aksha Vishayam Swasamadhi Bhagyam. So this word is very important. So Aksha Vishayam means they had okay, so let's start with Swa Samadhi Bhagyam. So that Lord who used to appear in their hearts in Samadhi, now Akshavisham, now has appeared personally in front of them. So now it is basically they are thinking that, oh, all our Samadhi of seeing the Lord in the heart has reached its perfection because the Lord has appeared right in front of us. Right? Okay. And then further the description is that Hamsa Shriya. Hamsa means white swans. So beautiful as white swans. So the associates, you can imagine the associates are coming, they have carrying paraphernalia and they have something that represents white swan. And what is that? Vyanjana. Because they were carrying chamara fans and they were fanning the Lord. So Lord is coming on his two lotus feet and the associates are carrying Vyanjan, chamara fans. And that appeared, the movement of this Vyanjan appears like beautiful white swans. And also it says Shiva Vayu, and there were favorable winds blowing, Keshara Shubhra Attapatra. And then there was an umbrella, a white umbrella on top of the Lord. And there were like pearls on the umbrella. And because of the favorable wind, the pearls were actually moving. And when the pearls were actually moving, it appeared like shashi. Shashi means drop of nectar falling from the moon. You know, such a beautiful description. So when the Lord came, he came with his associates. The associates were Chamara fan. They were finding the Lord. And with the movement of that, it appeared like there were white swans around the Lord. And the white umbrella and the beads on the white umbrella were moving. And that appeared like nectar drops falling from the moon. Okay, so let's read the translation.
The sages headed by Sanaka Rishi saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who was formerly visible only within their hearts in ecstatic trance, had now actually become visible to their eyes. As he came forward, accompanied by his own associates, bearing all paraphernalia such as an umbrella and a chamara fan, the white bunches of hair moved very gently, like two swans, and due to their favorable breeze and the pearls garlanding the umbrella also moved, like drops of nectar falling from the white moon or ice melting due to a gust of wind.
So see this illustration right here. Everyone can see my screen? So we see the four Kumaras are right here. And on the right side, you see Jay and Vijay. They had the stick and they stopped the four Kumaras from entering. And then Lord comes. And the Lord is walking on his two charana. You see the lotus feet, right? And then he has his associates who are also four-handed. And what are the associates carry? You see the white chamara fan, right? That appear like white swans. And then we see the umbrella that's been described. So you see at the base of the umbrella, there's this white pearls, which are actually moving and because of favorable winds. And because of the movement of these white pearls, it appeared as if there were like nectar drops falling from the moon. Okay. Nice painting. And then, yeah. And there's another nice painting of the four Kumaras. See how the four Kumaras, they're seeing the lotus feet of the Lord. See this Kumara bending down to see the lotus feet. Very nice painting. Okay, so we'll read about this further. Okay, And then let's see what else. Prabhupada makes a point in the purport. So the focus is on the Samadhi Bhagyam to Aksha Vishayam. So Samadhi Bhagyam is the form of the Lord within their hearts was now there's the same form they are seeing face to face. Right? And hence the four Kumaras are struck with wonder seeing the beauty of the Lord. And Prabhupada actually quotes the verse, Premanjana Chorita Bhakti Vilechanena. How can you appreciate the beauty of the Lord? Only when that is prema. So when the Lord actually manifested, right? Unless our eyes is anointed with prema, you cannot see the beauty of the Lord. And Prabhupada then concludes the purport by saying, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grayam indriya sevan mukhe jivado swayam eva spurte. How will we see the Lord? We not through our material senses, through our eyes, we cannot see the Lord. Ata Shri Krishna Nam Adi, name, his qualities, past time, we cannot experience with our indriya, with our senses right now. But sevan mukhe hi jivado. We have to do seva, service. And how do you have to do the service? With what? With the tongue. So just by chanting Hare Krishna and eating Krishna Prasada. Right? So by these two things, chanting Hare Krishna and eating Krishna Prasada, then by that seva, then Swayam Eva Spurutaya, the Lord himself will reveal himself to us. Okay. So the white bunches of hair are basically those chamara fans that we see. Right? Chamara fans. Okay, next 39.
Krishna prasada sumukham sprihaniya dhama snehavaloka kalayaridi samsprishantam shame pritap urashi shobitaya shriya swash chudamanim supagayantam ivatmadishnyam.
The Lord is the reservoir of all pleasure. His auspicious presence is meant for everyone's benediction, and his affectionate, smiling, and glancing touch the core of the heart. The Lord's beautiful bodily color is blackish, and his broad chest is the resting place of the goddess of fortune, who glorifies the entire spiritual world, the summit of all heavenly planets. Thus it appeared that the Lord was personally spreading the beauty and good fortune of the spiritual world.
So what is the mood of the four Kumaras and the mood of Jai and Vijay? The Lord has come and the four Kumaras are actually thinking, is the Lord angry with us because we cursed his own devotees? So in their hearts, they have this doubt that, oh, the Lord is coming, but I think he's angry with us because we cursed his own Jai and Vijay, his own devotees we have cursed. And what is Jai and Vijay thinking right now in their hearts? They are actually thinking that we did something which was Bhagavad Pratikula Shila, which was actually displeasing to the Lord. So now, because of this curse, maybe we will not experience that sweetness of the Lord. Because of our acting against the will of the Lord, we may not experience that sweetness. So both of them had this doubt in their heart. The Lord is coming, but maybe we will not actually experience the sweetness, or maybe the Lord is angry with us. But this verse actually explains the response of the Lord. Right? So first it says, Sumukham Krishna Prasada. Right? Mukham means face. The auspicious face of the Lord was Krishna Prasada. Was actually, it appeared as if he was blessing everyone. Right? So hence, when the four Kumaras saw this face of the Lord, they felt like, oh, the Lord is actually not pleased with us because he's actually showering his blessings on everyone. But what about Jai and Vijay? Then Sneha. How did the Lord reciprocate with Jai and Vijay? Sneha avaloka ridi sam prasantam. Right? With Jai and Vijay, the Lord was affectionately smiling, and with his glancing, he was touching the core of the heart. So we see the reciprocation of the Lord with Jai and Vijay and the four Kumaras. With four Kumaras, it was just it was like Sumukham, the auspicious face of the Lord was like, it appeared as if it was blessing everyone. And the four Kumaras felt like, oh, maybe the Lord is not angry with us. And then with Jai and Vijay, it was Sneha Avaloka. So it was so personal that the Lord was affectionately smiling. He was glancing at them and the glance was directly going into the core of their heart and touching their heart. So we see a response of the Lord to both these personalities. And then further it says Shame. Shame means the Lord's beautiful bodily complexion was Shama, like blackish. Then Prithan Urasi Subhita Shriya. His broad chest was the resting place of Shreya. Shreya means the goddess of fortune. Swachuda Mani. And then further it says, the goddess of fortune, she glorifies the summit of all heavenly places, the spiritual world. Subha Gayantam Iha Dishnam. It appeared that the Lord was personally spreading the good fortune of the spiritual abode. Right? So the key point here is the reaction of the Lord to the four Kumaras and the reaction of the Lord to Jay and Vijay. Okay. Okay. Then now let's see in the purport, Prabhupada talks about. Right. Here we see how Prabhupada says, by chance they committed an offense at the feet of other devotees. Right? That even the offensive domain where it's pure devotees, by chance. Right? The stress is not intentional, but by chance that mistake was actually done. Right? Then Prabhupada talks about how Vaishnava Aparadha is so severe. Right? He talks about when the offense against the devotee is very dangerous for devotional service, and how he says Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compares it to a Hati Mata. Right? We are just like cultivating the small, from a seed, those initial 2 leaves of bhakti, Kleshagni, Shubhada, small plant of bhakti is starting to arise in our heart. But then as soon as Vaishnava Aparadha, it's like a mad elephant walking over it. That means devotion, that's why it is considered to be so dangerous. Right? So Prabhupada says, an offense unto the feet of pure devotee murders one position in devotional service. Murders one's position in devotional service. That's why the dealings with the Vaishnava, we have to be so careful that anything we do which is going to, an offense to a Vaishnava, then immediately our bhakti can actually be just murdered one's position in devotional service. But then the Lord, further Prabhupada makes this point, the Lord does not accept any offense created by his sincere devotees. Like often this question comes, you say like, yes, we hear so much about Vaishnava Aparadha, but sometimes unknowingly something happens. How can we protect ourselves from unknowing offenses? Right? And here Prabhupada is making the point, the Lord does not accept any offense created by his sincere devotee. So if we are sincere in our heart, we are not acting out of like envy or intentionally doing something. And if by chance, such certain situation, someone feels offended because of us, then the Lord does not take that very seriously. But on the path of a devotee, he is very cautious not to commit any offense. Okay. And then Prabhupada concludes the purport and he says that how in the material world, if one is favored by even a pinch by Lakshmiji, that person is glorified. Right? Like even in this world, if someone is very rich, they say, oh, he has a blessing, a pinch of blessing by Lakshmiji. And then everyone says, oh, he's so great, he's so great. Imagine the Lord who is served by thousands and thousands of Lakshmis. How much glorified he is. Right? Okay. Next verse, 40.
Pitam shuke pritunitam bini vishpurantya Tanshyali bhir virutaya vanamalaya cha Varu prakoshta valayam vinata sutamse Vinyasta hasta itarena lunanam abjam.
So this is like, like I showed that photo of the Lord, right? So this is like zooming into different parts of the Lord, right? So first it says, okay, now the point is like the Lord has appeared, the 4 Kumaras are taking darshan of the Lord. So here it says, first what do they see? Pita Amshuke Prithu Nitambinin. So first they are focused, like when we see Radha Golokananda. Like one is we see the whole form, but then we may come close and see a particular aspect of the Lord. Oh, today that ankle belt that the Lord is wearing, so beautiful. Or we may see, oh, the waist band around the Golokananda is so beautiful. So our focus of attention may change. So how was it for the 4 Kumaras? First, their focus of attention, the first thing was they saw the large hips of the Lord, which was covered by a yellow cloth. That was the first focus. Then the camera moved as such for the four Kumaras, and then it came to Vispurantya Kancha. And they then saw, oh yes, the large hips covered by yellow cloth. But on the yellow cloth, what is that? There was a girdle which was shining very brightly. Then their focus changed and it came to Vana Malaya. Then they saw, oh, there is a beautiful fresh garland around the Lord. Then they saw Alibi Viraktaye. Oh, there are bees humming on that garland, right? And then they saw Valgu Prakshosha. Then they saw the wrist, the lovely wrist of the Lord. And when they saw the wrist of the Lord, what did they see? Valayam. Valayam means bracelets. And they saw that, oh, the wrist had beautiful bracelets. And they saw the hand of the Lord. And where was the hand of the Lord? The Vinyaste means rested on. Amse Vinata Suta. Who is the Vinata Suta? The son of Vinata? That is Garuda. So they are focusing everywhere, and finally they see the hand of the Lord resting on the shoulder of Garuda. So I made this point before that how the Lord walked on his feet, and then Garuda came, and then the Lord is placing his hand on the shoulder of Garuda, saying, okay, you are also there, but now it was very important, so I had to just run on my feet. And then the last is Itaritena. Where was the other hand? So one hand was on the shoulder of Garuda. Other hand, Dhunanam Abjam. He was twirling a lotus flower. Right? So this twirling of a lotus flower is very significant. In different places, we have this twirling of a lotus flower, and acharyas give different meanings. Right? Like one is how the Yagya Patnis, when they come, the Lord is standing with one of his hands on a cowherd boy, Balaram maybe. And then the other hand, he's twirling a lotus flower. Right? So here, what is the significance of twirling? So the Lord is actually, by twirling the lotus flower, is telling the four Kumaras, you are fixed on realization of Brahman, but now this form is going to disturb that realization, and you're going to experience something more sweeter, more deeper. And he's moving that, if someone is steady and you create some movement, you're agitating that steadiness, right? So there Brahman realized. So he's moving the lotus and he's saying, okay, now I'm going to disturb the steadiness. I'm going to give you the attraction of the personal form, right? So the Lord was one way joking with them, right? Since you are fixed in the bliss of impersonal realization, convinced that that is the best, why do you disturb your hearts? Why don't you study yourself? Do not give up your steadiness in Brahman. One way the Lord is joking and he's actually causing that agitation and saying, no, don't give it up, don't give it up. But he's actually causing them to give it up, right? So that's 40. Okay. Then 41.
Oh, translation?
Oh, yeah, a 40 translation. Okay.
Yeah, translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. He was adorned with a girdle that shone brightly on the yellow cloth covering his large hips, and he wore a garland of fresh flowers, which was distinguished by humming bees. His lovely wrists were graced with bracelets, and he rested one of his hands on the shoulder of Garuda, his carrier, and twirled a lotus with another hand. Hare Krishna.
Okay, 41.
Vidyutkshipannmakarakundalamandanaarha Gandhastalonasamukam manimatkiritam Dordandasandavivare harata paradhya Harena kandharakatena chakostubhena.
Okay, so we'll do word to word. So he says Vidyut Shipat Makara Kandala. Right? Makara Kandala. That means what? The Lord has earrings. And what is the shape of the earring? Alligator shaped earrings. And this description is so beautiful that it says Mandana Gandhasthala. So see, when there is an earring, and let's say someone shines a light over the earring, what happens? Like, you have a jewel like something like, something with a stone, like a precious stone. Immediately when light is shown over it, then it shines, right? It shines. Like sometimes we just see that on like Radha Golokananda, like they have certain jewelry, but because the light is falling and particular angle, it shines. Now for the Lord, he's wearing these alligator-shaped earrings. But what is the light falling on these earrings? It is the own effulgence of the Lord. It's not like a separate light. The effulgence of the Lord is falling on the earring, and that is making the earring reflect that light. And that reflection of the light is again falling on the face of the Lord and enhancing the beauty of the Lord. So it is the effulgence of the Lord falling on the earring, which is reflecting back on the face of the Lord, and that is enhancing the beauty of the Lord. So hence the Krishna's own effulgence was actually distinguished by the cheeks that enhance the beauty of the earrings. Right? And then further it says, Unnasa, his nose was raised, Mukham Mani, Matkiritam, his head was covered with a crown, Vivare Do Danda, between his four hands. What was that? There was this Harata Paradya Harena, a charming and most precious necklace. And then adorning his neck, what was there on the neck of the Lord? Kandava Gatena Kastuba jewel. And on his chest, there was this Kastuba jewel. Okay, translation.
Hare Krishna. His countenance was distinguished by his cheeks that enhanced the beauty of his alligator-shaped pendants, which outshone lightning. His nose was prominent, and his head was covered with a gem-studded crown. A charming necklace hung between his stout arms, and his neck was adorned with the gem known by the name Kaustuba.
Yes, next verse.
Atropasrishtam iti chotmishtam indriya raya swanam dhiya virachitam bahushoštavadhyam mayam bhavasya bhavatam cha bhajantamangam nemur nirikshana vitripta drisho mudakai.
Okay, let's read the translation for this.
Hare Krishna. The exquisite beauty of Narayana, being many times magnified by the intelligence of his devotees, was so attractive that he defeated the pride of goddess of fortune in being the most beautiful. My dear demigods, the Lord who thus manifested himself is worshipable by me, by Lord Shiva, and by all of you. The sages regarded him with unsated eyes and joyously bowed their heads at his lotus feet.
So he is saying, Atra, in this matter of beauty, what more can be said? You know, I mean, it's like he described so beautiful. It's like, what more can be said about the beauty of the Lord? And then he says, Bahu Sosta Adhyam, that very beautiful decorated form of the Lord, Virachitam Swanam Dhiya, which is meditated on by the intelligence of the devotees. So devotees, they use their intelligence, what? Finally, to just meditate on that beautiful form of the Lord. So when we are actually reading these verses of the Bhagavatam, in Bhagavatam we find many places a description of the form of the Lord. What are we doing? We are meditating on the form of the Lord with our intelligence, because we are studying the Shastra and meditating, right? So this is actually, you know, it's not just like, oh, okay, let's just finish this verses, then go to the continue of the story. What does Vishnu say? No, these the verses where we actually really meditate on the form of the Lord. And then further he says, Upashishtam utsmitam indriya. That the beauty of the Lord is so beautiful that it curbs down the pride of Lakshmi ji herself. Imagine. So here it says, it defeats the pride of goddess of fortune in being the most beautiful. Lakshmi herself is the most beautiful. But then, because the Lord is so beautiful, it is one way defeating the pride of Lakshmi ji, of her being most beautiful. And then further he says, Mayam Bhavasya Cha Bhavatam Me. So he himself, Lord Shiva, all the demigods, what are they doing? Bhajantam. They are worshipping this form of the Lord. And Niraksha, and the sages, last line actually says, the sages regarded with unsated eyes. They were seeing with their eyes, and they were not getting satisfied. I mean, they were like not satiated to see this, and they want to see again and again and again. Muda kahi, joyously they bowed their heads, and they were actually relishing this form of the Lord. So, in one Acharya explains this, that okay, that'll come later actually, and we'll come back and mention that point later. That basically anyway, since we are talking, I'll just mention that point, that they were taking darshan of the Lord, but every part of the Lord was so beautiful that it was like how I mentioned, it was like a camera. Focus of attention was changing. First here, the waist, then garland, then their crown. And because it was so relishable for them that the camera was going up, down, and you could not even say, where should I focus? Everything is so relishable. Every aspect of the Lord is so beautiful that I don't know where to focus. So it was going up, then going down, going up, going down. And they couldn't, every aspect of the Lord they were relishing so much. Now, Prabhupada gives a point in the purport that's like, like we see like how Prabhupada sometimes in purport, it gives this point is like, wow, what is Prabhupada saying here? Right? So first he says Lakshmi is the most beautiful sight within the material and the spiritual creation, but yet her beauty is defeated by the beauty of the Lord. Next point he says, that devotees of right. So here it says,
Prabhuji, I was thinking that here it says that the Lord's beauty defeats the beauty of Lakshmi ji, but we know that Radharani's beauty is much, much greater than Lord's beauty, and that's what Prabhupada is explaining in the purport. I was thinking, how is that possible? But Prabhupada explained that in Golok Vrindavan, the devotees want to see Radharani more beautiful.
so the point that Prabhupada is saying, he's saying the devotees of the Lord in the Vaikuntha planets want to see the Lord as the most beautiful. So in comparison with the Lord and Lakshmi ji, the Lakshmi ji's pride is actually being diminished by the beauty of the Lord because the Lord is so beautiful. But the devotees in Gokula or Krishna Lok want to see Radharani as more beautiful than Krishna. The Vaikuntha Vasis want to see the Lord as more beautiful than Lakshmi ji, but those who are uh, devotees in Gokul or Krishna Lok, they want to see Radharani more beautiful than Krishna. So this is basically our Gaudiya mood, that we are actually more devotees of Radharani than of Krishna. Right? Our worship of Krishna is because Krishna is the beloved of Srimati Radharani. We are actually worshippers of Srimati Radharani. That's our mood. So we want to see, oh, Radharani is more beautiful. That means no one more beautiful than Krishna. And is that only a sentiment? No. Krishna has a name, what? Madana Mohan. Right? Madana Mohan. But Radharani has a name, what? Madana Mohana Mohini. Right? Or here Prabhupada also makes a point. He says Madana Daha. Right? Madan Daha or Madana Mohana Mohini. Right? Oh no, sorry. Krishna's name is Madana Daha or Madana Mohan, but Radharani's name is Madana Mohana Mohini. Right? So why is Krishna called Madana Mohan? Because he, with the Cupid, right? Cupid is always looking and trying to shoot arrows. But when Cupid sees the beauty of Krishna, Cupid itself is shot. And Cupid itself is shot. So Madana Mohana, Madana, seeing the beauty of Krishna, he is actually, he himself becomes bewildered, right? But that Krishna, who's so attractive, when he sees the beauty of Srimati Radharani, then he is conquered by that beauty. He is conquered by that beauty. So, Prabhupada in one of the purports in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he actually makes this point. He says all the inhabitants of Vrindavan Dham, maybe I can share my screen, it's very nice. One minute, pull up the verse. So this is in Madhya 13:150. Okay, so here you can see in my screen. It's a beautiful verse. I want to share this. So, so this is Krishna actually speaking. Vrajavasi yata jana, mata pita sakha gana, sabe hoy mora pran sama. Right. So all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, uh, mata, pita, so my mother, father, sakha gana, cowherd boyfriends, and everyone. Sabe hoy mera prana sama. They are all my life and soul. But tanre madhe gopi gana. Sakshat Mora Jivana. But among all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, the gopis are my life and soul. So among all of them, Sakshat Mora Jivan, they are actually my life. Who? The Gopi Gana. And to me, Mora, Jivenar Jive Nera Jivana. But you, O Srimati Radhani, are the chief of all those. The Krishna himself is conquered by the beauty of Srimati Radhani. Therefore, you are the very life of my life. So Prabhupada in purport gives such a nice purport. He says, Srimati Radharani is the center of all Vrindavan activities. In Vrindavan, Krishna is the instrument of Srimati Radharani. Imagine that sentence. Krishna is the instrument of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan still chant Jai Radhe. From Krishna's own statement given herein, it appears that Radharani is the queen of Vrindavan and Krishna is simply her decoration. So for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, what is our mood? Oh, Radharani, she is the most beautiful. And Krishna is simply a decoration of Srimati Radharani. Krishna is known as Madan Mohan, the enchanter of Cupid, but Srimati Radharani is the enchanter of Krishna. Consequently, Srimati Radharani is called Madana Mohana Mohini, the enchanter of the the Cupid. Very nice. So Krishna is the instrument of Srimati Radharani, and Krishna is simply the decoration of Srimati Radharani. So this is our Gaudiya mood. We are just worshippers of Srimati Radharani. So Prabhupada brings out that mood here. Okay, 43. So this is a verse. This is a main key verse here. So maybe we can recite this twice. Go ahead. 43.
Did we read the translation?
Okay, maybe did we? No. Okay, go ahead.
Mohananda Prabhu?
I read, Mataji.
You read it? Okay.
Yeah.
When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from
One
the
minute. We have not come to that. So 40, did we read the translation?
42, we read the translation.
42. Okay, so
43.
it's to the Sanskrit for 43.
Tasyaravinda nayanasya padaravinda kinjalkamishra tulasi makaranda vayuhu antargata swavivarena chakara tesham sanshobhamaksharajusham api chitta tanvoho.
Okay, so this is the key verse here, and the verse for memorization. So maybe we can have someone repeat. So Ratnalika, you can do the first line, and Pratnamati, you would like to repeat line by line how we do it in Purple. Go ahead.
Tasyaravinda nayanasya padaravinda
Tasyaarvinda nayanasya padarvinda
Kinjalkamishra turasi makaranda vayuhu
Kinjalkamishra tulasi makaranda vayuhu
Antargata swavivarena chakara tesham
Antargata swavivarena chakara tesham
Sanshobham akshara jusham api chitta tanvoho.
Shobha aksharam justam apichittatanvo.
Okay, thank you. You can go ahead with translation, Mati.
When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of lotus feet of the personality of Godhead enter the nostrils of those sages, they experience a change both in the body and in the mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding.
So this is a very famous verse for memorization. So what is now happening, having taken darshan of the Lord? Tasya Aravinda Nayanasya, right? So of the lotus-eyed Lord, Padaravinda, the lotus feet of that lotus-eyed Lord, Kinjalka Mishra Tulasi. So on the lotus feet of the Lord, and Kinjalka means the red and white lotus, like toenails of the Lord. Right? The toenails of the Lord are like red and white, kinjalka, mishra tulasi, and there is tulsi on the lotus feet. Makaranda, makaranda means the fragrance of the tulsi from the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, who has lotus eyes, right? So that is the translation up to this point. The fragrance of the tulsi leaves, tulsi, from the toes, which are what? Like red and white, of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is Aravinda Nayanasya, who has lotus eyes, and Vayuhu, that breeze carrying that fragrance, Anta Gataha Swavivarena, when it entered through the nostrils of these four Kumaras, Chakara Tesham, it made the four Kumaras what? Sankshobham, agitated, Chitta Tanva, both in their mind and their body, they became agitated. Api Akshara Jusham, even though they were actually attached to impersonal Brahman realization. So this verse actually proves that even those who are actually Brahman realized, they can find a deeper kind of happiness in the form of the Lord, right? And here when you say Sankshodam, agitated, right? So the sweetness of the Lord body produced in them a level of astonishment, a level of happiness that was even beyond that of Brahman realization. Right? So how in Nectar of Devotion, there's a verse which says, if you take the happiness of Brahmanda and that happiness you multiply it by 1,000,000,000 times, that happiness does not compare to a drop of happiness in the ocean of devotion, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In that Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in that ocean of devotion, even one drop of that cannot be compared to Brahmanda multiplied by 1,000,000,000 times. That's how the comparison. So, and what is this Sankshobham, agitated? So first, their mind became very strongly agitated, right? Because they were experiencing this bliss that they had never experienced it before. And because of that happiness, which is like beyond, beyond the something that you can actually perceive in the body, you cannot hold that happiness in your body, then that actually it agitated their body. That means what? Tears started flowing, their hair started stand on end, and there was perspiration just by the fragrance of the tulsi leaves. It's just like, I'll give a mundane example here, but sometimes if someone is very happy, he hears some news that, oh, you got so and so, and immediately you feel so happy, the person starts jumping in joy, right? So that the happiness is not being contained within, and it is actually exhibited outside through some change in the body. Now here, when the fragrance just entered, their minds have experienced so much happiness that they could not constrain it in their body. And that happiness got manifested in their body as standing of hairs on the end, right? Tears flowing from their eyes, perspiration, all those symptoms, they actually came in the body of the impersonalist. Right. So Prabhupada makes a point. Impersonalists who feel transcendental pleasure in striving to become one with the Lord is defeated when he sees that transcendental beauty and sweetness of the Lord. Becoming a servitor of the lotus feet of the Lord is better and higher than transcendental pleasure than becoming one with the Lord. Right? So that happiness of being that servant to actually experience the sweetness is incomparable even to Brahman. Right? So this entire section, if you see, is actually a perfect section to actually defeat the impersonalists, to make the point that how Brahman realization is not the highest realization, right? And we see that how even in the starting, right, in the starting of this pastime, Brahma himself is giving the description of the variegatedness in the spiritual sky. And if it was just all oneness, then there will be no question of renegade. But Brahma himself is saying, oh, see all the variegatedness in the spiritual sky. First point. Second point is the point about, well, first of all, is spoken by Brahma himself, who is the authority. So you can say Brahma himself is actually appreciating the Vaikuntha, the variegated Vaikuntha. Second point, Brahma himself is actually desiring to enter into Vaikuntha. right? If the highest was just Brahman realized, why would Brahma actually aspire to be a part of that variegatedness? So Brahma himself is desiring that entrance into Vaikuntha. We see that in those verses. Third point is we saw how the Lord, when he actually came, how he reciprocated with the devotees and with the four Kumaras. With the four Kumaras, it was just his smiling face, Mukham, was just giving benedictions to everyone. But how was his reciprocation with the Jay and Vijay? Very personal. His glances and smile was actually touching the core of their hearts. So that itself says more intimate reciprocation to who? Bhagwan realized, not Brahman realized. Third point. Right? Third point. Fourth point is the description of the beauty of the Lord. If the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the highest of all Puranas, is spending so many verses to give the description of the Lord, why would it actually do if Brahman is the highest? And then the last point is the experience of the four Kumaras. Even though they were Brahman realized, now they are experiencing a happiness that is way beyond Brahman realized, that they cannot even restrain in their body, and that is being exhibited as ecstatic symptoms. Right? So 5 points are there in the entire pastime to actually defeat that the concept that, oh, Brahman realization is the highest. Highest is to merge into the Brahman. No, that's not true. Highest is to experience that sweetness of the beauty of the Lord.
Prabhu, can you
Yeah.
little slow so that we can write down the 5 points?
The first point is Brahman himself, who is the Brahma himself, who is the authority, who is the first one, who is the knower of the Vedic wisdom. He himself is actually giving a description of the variegatedness of the spiritual world. Right? Second point, Brahma himself is desiring to actually be a part of Vaikuntha, enter into Vaikuntha. Third point is the Lord's reciprocation with the devotees and the Brahman realized, and how the Lord's reciprocation with his devotees is so much more intimate than the reciprocation with Brahman realized. And then fourth point is the description of the beauty of the Lord. Why would Srimad Bhagavatam take so many verses just to describe the beauty of the Lord, and how the four Kumaras, when they're seeing the beauty, every aspect of the beauty was so relishable that they couldn't stop. They saw one aspect, then they changed their focus to another aspect, again came back to the same aspect, again. So they were like relishing each aspect of the beauty. And the fifth is the experience of the four Kumaras. Right? So this proves, there's nothing more to say, that, this is to experience the sweetness of the form of the Lord is the highest realization a sadhaka can ever have. Okay. 44. Let's do one. We'll do 2 verses and then we'll take a break. Okay. One more point I want to mention is Vishwanath Chakravarti. I think this is from Jiva Goswami, not Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He says that although the four Kumaras, they got this transformation from Brahman realized to now personal realization, but still he makes a point that they attain only Sant Bhakti, like Shanti Rasa, not even Dasya Bhakti. Why? Because they had offended Jay and Vijay. Because of their offense to a Vaishnava, they couldn't even be elevated to Dasya Bhakti, and they were actually at the platform of Shanta Rasa. We read this similar thing about, anyway, it's like a different example, but even with Dhritarashtra, we read that even when Vidura came in and gave him the highest knowledge, because of his offense to the Pandavas, he couldn't attain the highest perfection. Okay. 44.
Deva amushya vananasita padmakosham udviksha sundaratharardhara kundahasam labdhashisha punaravikshata diyamangri dvandvam nakarunamanikshayanam nidhadyu.
Translation. Hare Krishna. The Lord's beautiful face appeared to them like the inside of a blue lotus, and the Lord's smile appeared to be a blossoming jasmine flower. After seeing the face of the Lord, the sages were fully satisfied, and when they wanted to see him further, they looked upon the nails of his lotus feet, which resembled rubies. Thus they viewed the Lord's transcendental body again and again, and so they finally achieved meditation on the Lord's personal feature.
So here it is described that after transformation, what is it said? They, those sages, amusya vadana, asita padma kosham. They saw the Supreme Personality of God. His face was just like the inside of a blue lotus flower. Then sundaratara, and it became even more beautiful because of his beautiful lips. Adhara kunda asam, and the Lord smiling appeared just like a jasmine flower. I mean, like we hear all this and like, oh, what does a jasmine flower look like? We don't even have that experience, right? But we can actually appreciate that, blue lotus. I mean, it is rare that we see a lotus flower. What to talk about blue lotus, right? But we can actually just appreciate that. That's how their realization was. And then further, he said, Labda Ashisha. And then seeing this, they were all fully satisfied. So much happiness they are experiencing. But was that like, okay, now I'm done? No, no. After that, Punaha Aveksha. So this section started with Aveksha. When they saw the Lord, now Punaha Aveksha. They wanted to see the Lord again and again and again. Right? And then Tadiyam Angri Dondam. When they saw the nails on the lotus feet, it appeared like Aruna Mani. Aruna is Odilo Aruna Purava Bhage, right? Aruna is reddish, red, like red rubies. The nails on the lotus feet of the Lord appeared like red rubies. And then they viewed the transcendental body, Punaha, again and again until they Sharanyam. Oh, sorry, what's the last one? Yes, Shayanam. Shayanam Prabhupada translates shelter. They viewed again and again until that personal form of the Lord became the shelter of their meditation. So those Brahman realized now the beauty of the Lord has become the shelter of their meditation. So because of that unlimited variety of sweetness within each aspect of the Lord, each limb of the Lord, the four desire to simultaneously, the four Kumaras desire to simultaneously experience all the sweetness, right? So they're seeing let's say the hips of the Lord, and so much sweetness they're experiencing. But then they're seeing the face, so much sweetness. Then the nails, so much sweetness. And they were like how can we experience this sweetness? Every aspect is so sweet. Right? Hence, they became disturbed that the sankshodam, their entire body became agitated with that. Okay. So, so 45, let's do 45, and I'll make another point here, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur stresses.
Om Sangatim Mrigayatamiha Yogamarga Dhyanaspradam Bahumatam Nayanabhiramam Om Snambapur Darshayanam Mananya Siddhaya Otpadvikai Samagrinan Yutam Ashtabhogaya.
Hare Krishna, 3:15:45. This is the form of the Lord which is meditated upon by followers of the yoga process, and it is pleasing to the yogis in meditation. It is not imaginary but factual, as proved by great yogis. The Lord is full in 8 kinds of achievements, but for others, these achievements are not possible in full perfection. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So here it's actually said that Pumsang Gatim Mrigayatam Iha. So persons who are actually desiring liberation in this world, Yoga Margahi, by the process of Astanga Yoga, for them, Dhyana Aspadam Bahumatam. All the great sages say, oh, even if you want liberation from this world, meditate. Your object of meditation should be the form of the Lord. That's what the great sages recommend. Even those people meditate on the form of the Lord. Without that, you cannot even attain liberation. Then this form of the Lord, Nayana Abhirama. So this form of the Lord, this human form, Pomsam means human, Vapuhu, form of the Lord, is very pleasing to the eyes, right? And Yutam Ashtabhogai. So this Ashtabhogai, that's the key here, says Supreme Personality of Godhead is endowed with Ashta. Ashta means 8 kinds of achievements arising from his own Swarup. And that 8 kinds of achievements is Siddhahi and Outpatkahi. It is perfected and it is always present, eternally present, right? And this bhogai experienced by our devotees through bhakti. Right? So only devotees can experience these 8 special achievements arising from the Swarup of the Lord. What is that 8 perfections?
Anima, Mahima, Laghima. Is that true?
So one way of understanding is Prabhupada focuses that because here it is talking of Ashtanga yogis, so the perfection of Ashtanga yoga is to get the Ashtasiddhis. But the form of the Lord is endowed with the perfection of the Ashtasiddhis. Right? So hence that is one understanding. Another explanation Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives, he says, what is that Ashta perfections for the Lord? First one, his sweet voice, sound. Right? The voice of the Lord. When the Lord actually speaks, what can be higher than that? That sweet sound of the Lord. That is one perfection. Second, the touch of the Lord, the softness of the form of the Lord. That is second. Third, the beauty. So this is like actually this ashta is referring to different aspects of our senses. Sound, right? Sound to our ears, touch to our skin. Then beauty, the form of the Lord. That is our sight. Then sweetness, a taste of the Lord. Right? Then fragrance, the smell of the Lord. Then, so these are 5. Okay? Then the sixth one is affection, which is actually the mercy of the Lord. Seventh one is the pastimes, or which is the action of the Lord. And that is 7. And then the 8th one, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, is Sad Aishwarya, all the 6 opulences of the Lord. So these 6 opulences are actually, so this is the 8th, right? So this is totally the 8th. So this is one explanation. The other explanation is the perfection of all the Ashtasiddhis. So all this is there in the form of the Lord. And this is eternally present, and this is Siddhi. This is perfected. All Ashtasiddhi perfected, or the voice perfected, touch perfected, beauty perfected, sweetness perfected, fragrance perfected, affection perfected, and past tense perfected. Okay. So Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about how Ashtanga yogis, what is their process, they sit with the head and back in straight line, seclude place, brahmachari, basically 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and how Arjun rejected this, and he searched, right. And finally in 11th chapter, we see how he finally accepted the 2 form of the Lord is the perfection. Right? 2-handed form is the highest form of the Lord. And
Sorry, Prabhuji, could you please repeat one more time? The sweet voice is sound, soft touch of the Lord is touch, beauty is sight, and sweetness,
then fragrance,
and then affection, then pastimes, and
then all the Sad Aishwarya Purna. And 6, all the 6 opulence.
so Prabhuji, this is sound, touch, sight, and then
So first is sound, sweet voice. Second is touch, softness, right? How they say even when a lotus petal falls on the form of the Lord, on the skin, that soft lotus petal leaves an impression on the form of the Lord. Imagine that softness, right? Third is a beauty. Fourth is the sweetness, like a taste of the Lord. Fifth is the fragrance, that is smell. Sixth is the affection, that is mercy. Seventh is the pastime, which is the action of the Lord.
thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Okay. So, I mean, you should go through a purport. It's a little long purport, but I'm seeing which points can I stress on. So Prabhupada says real yoga is to search out the four-handed super soul within one's heart and see him perpetually in meditation. That is actually samadhi, to see the form of the Lord in the heart. Right? And then, then hence he actually talks of the Paramatma in the heart, how the Lord is present everywhere and his right of proprietorship applies to everything. And, and then further Prabhupada talks of Paramatma, how Paramatma is the friend and the witness. How is Paramatma the friend? Because he's seated in the heart, and as soon as the jiva wants to go back to him, he's very anxious to get the jiva back to him. And how is he as a witness? Because he bestows all the benedictions and the results of our action. And then Prabhupada brings one finally, that once we realize, see the form of the Lord in the heart, then we want to surrender to the form. Sarva dharma parityajya mam ekam sharanam bhaja, which is the last word of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. And then he says the highest perfectional stage of the human form of life is to, what is the highest perfectional stage of human form of life? Prabhupada says the highest perfectional stage is to come to a stage where the super soul dictates from within and from without, the, basically he's referring to the point, Tesham Sarta Yuktam Bhajatam Priti Purvam, the Dami Buddhi Yogam. So our highest perfection stage is when we come to a stage when the super soul in our heart, he actually tells, oh, you should do this, do this, do this. We are getting intelligence directly from the super soul and acting based on that intelligence. Okay, so we'll stop here. Take a break. So one point I wanted to mention here was that how is it the four Kumaras? See, we always make the point that bhakti comes from where?
Bhakta.
Bhakta. So how is it that the four Kumaras now they have bhakti?
Jain.
Not exactly Jain Vijay in this case.
Krishna himself.
Huh?
Krishna himself showed his
No.
absence.
I mean, Krishna himself does not give bhakti. Only the devotee of Krishna can give bhakti. Krishna himself, he doesn't choose. He says, I'm not going to give bhakti. Krishna is because by the bhakti he himself is purchased. So he's a devotee. He gives that to his devotees. Devotees, you can give. You are very merciful. You're more merciful than me. If you want, you give. But I won't give. Actually, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually explains that previously Brahmaji had described the beauty of the form of the Lord to the four Kumaras. And when Brahmaji actually spoke, he was actually giving them that seed of bhakti, and which was actually nourished by Narad Muni, who is the brother of the four Kumaras. So only because of the mercy of Brahma and Narada, they actually experienced this transformation. Otherwise, they were seen the form of the Lord, yet not experience the sweetness of that form of the Lord. But now they are able to experience it only because of a mercy of the devotee of the Lord. And this is true. This is the whole point of Bhagavatam, is bhakti can come only from a bhakta. Right? So, okay, so let's stop here. Any realizations, any points from today's session? And then the next part, last few verses, is basically the prayers that the Kumaras offer to the Lord. That's also beautiful verses are there in that. And we see that how the bhakti of the Kumaras is actually expressed through these prayers. Very nice verses. Any points up to this point? Realizations anyone would like to share?
Prabhuji, here Vishnu refers to which Vishnu, Prabhu, like Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu?
So
It says Padmanabha. It says Padmanabha. We read in one of the sloka, right, Prabhu?
I mean, that's a description of the form of the Lord. I mean, a description of a quality of the Lord, Padmanabha, the one from whose navel the lotus flower actually comes. But one way we can see the four Kumaras, when they come to these gates of Vaikuntha, like Prabhupada makes the point that how they can travel in the material and the spiritual world. So they're actually seeing the form of Vishnu like even beyond Shirodakshay Vishnu, beyond Garbhodakshay Vishnu. They're actually entering into Vaikuntha to see the four-handed form of the Lord. So, I was going to make the point that it's not that they are going to Shwetadeep to see Shirodakshay Vishnu, nor are they seeing Garbhodakshay Vishnu. They are seeing the form of the Lord who is actually in the spiritual world. Is that right? Gopinath Prabhu?
Yeah, it is beyond that's what the understanding is. Beyond Garbhodaksha is actually Vaikuntha planets directly.
Yeah. So they're not going to the Shwetadeep in this material world. They are actually going to Vaikuntha. Yeah. Okay. Any other points from today's session?
Prabhuji, in that picture you showed, there are a lot of other devotees are there. Who are they, Prabhu?
I mean, the unlimited associates of the Lord, right?
So they all came with the Lord? And
Yeah, because the Lord never travels alone. Wherever the Lord is, his associates are there, like here. And all of them are four-handed, see? Like all the associates here. So even Jay and Vijay, if you see, they are four-handed forms. They have a conch, lotus, club, a disc. Okay? So there's so many associates. The Lord are always served by all the associates. Like this is a photo. I really like this painting. You see this Khor Kumar, one of the Kumara. He's at the feet of the Lord, and he's like, kind of like really absorbed in that lotus feet of the Lord, because created that kind of transformation. That lotus, we see the lotus also on the feet of the Lord. I'm
So-
sorry, it's Tulasi on the feet of the Lord.
when Lord is moving, lotus also comes with the lotus feet, Prabhuji. He's walking, right?
Tulasi.
I mean, Tulasi. Yes.
Tulasi, yeah, Tulasi is always there on the lotus feet of the Lord.
And Prabhuji, Kaustuba jewel, why that jewel is given more important? Is it rare?
Yeah, we discussed this actually in one of our previous sessions. I've given the whole thing about what is the Kaustuba jewel.
Oh, I missed it, Prabhuji.
Anyway, I can post that section in the group if you want.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah.
Prabhuji, in one of the verses, Narayana is the Vishnu form is described as blackish.
Yeah.
Krishna is also blackish, right, Prabhu? But in most of the, like in the temples, we see like a whitish form, or like in the pictures, we see whitish form, not the.
Or Vishnu?
Yeah.
No, Vishnu has like similar complexion, like a bluish, dark complexion. And the proof is right here.
Yeah, it's in one of the verses.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Otherwise, let's take a quick break and then come back.
Babaji, I really like the point that how there is so much variegatedness in just the beautiful form of the Lord, that the highest yoga process could be to concentrate on our mind on Krishna 24 hours a day. And I also like the point that highest perfection could be that the super soul is dictating 24 hours a day. Do this, do that.
Very nice. Thank you.
Prabhu, I was wondering to see the mood of Brahmaji, because he's the one who's speaking these verses. So, what would have happened there, or the experience that the four Kumaras are experiencing, could be something else also. But it's so significant because he's the speaker. He would always put his, just like when you said that, how did the four Kumaras get bhakti? Because it started from Brahmaji, anyways. So, so I was just trying to think that, how much love or how much eagerness does he actually have, Brahmaji, to be back and to be with the Lord in Vaikuntha planets, and to make also, he is also telling the same beauty of the Lord to the demigods also, for the purpose of they also become devotees, maybe. They would also might get bhakti, and then Narad Muni will enrich, or the Lord will, Vaman Dev will come, or whatever. He's so like, so sometimes we always, we don't take Brahmaji so seriously, like, but he's so significant, like, as like the first preacher of the universe.
Yes, yes. Particularly our Brahma is like, we see like such a great devotee of the Lord. It's very, very special. And for us, like even more important because he's the head of our sampradaya. How can we ignore Brahmaji? He's the head of our sampradaya. Okay, so let's take a quick break.
In his mood, we see how he spoke about how Radharani, had in that verse, like for him, because he wants to be in Vaikuntha, he wants to see. But then, when he actually comes to Vrindavan and he sees Brahma Vimohan Leela and things, changes his idea, that probably I should go to, even I'm thinking in Golok, even Subal would be more handsome, more beautiful than Krishna. Because Krishna is the second part, right, for Golok. Everybody else is more glorious. Krishna is not. Krishna is, Yashoda Maya would be like unlimited beauty, in that sense. Because Krishna's beauty, how we say that if, the competition between the devotee and the Bhagavan, that aspect is there not only in Madhurya, it would be there in Dasya, it would be there in Sakya, it would be there in Vatsalya. So then, that would have given him these are all my speculations, but anyways, would have given him the idea that, we should hanker for Golok Vrindavan, Gokul Vrindavan, and then even more greater to be Namacharya, So,
And the entire Brahma Vimohan Leela is that he's able to see the Brahma Vimohan Leela. The Krishna's pastimes like cowherd boy. And then how he actually prayed after that to Krishna. That he chants all these prayers we see in the 10th canto. And after that, how does Krishna reciprocate? He doesn't say anything much. He just says and he just nods and then he says, I want to play with my cowherd boys. And Brahma realizes that actually I have not really repented for my mistake. And he said, I have to do tapasya. And he goes to Navadvip, right? And that's where Antardvip, right? Which one? Koladip? Godrumdip. So he goes to Addeep, and that's where Brahmaji is actually meditating to actually, when the Lord comes again, he wants to come in a humble position as Haridas Thakur to be an associate of the Lord. So very special. Okay, so let's take a quick break. Let's come back in 5 minutes and we'll continue with the last 5 verses, the prayers of the 4 Kumaras. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Once again, Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. So let's continue. We are in the last section of this chapter, text number 46. So the last few verses are the prayers that the four Kumaras offer to the Lord. Very nice prayers. So let's start with text 46.
Kumara Uchuhu Yontarhito Ridikatopi Duratmanam Tvam Sodyaiva Nayanamunamanantaradaha Yareva Karna Vivarena Guhangato Naha Pitranuvarnitaraha Bhavat Udbhavena. The Kumara said, "Our dear Lord, you are not manifested to rascals, even though you are seated within the heart of everyone. But as far as we are concerned, we see you face to face, although you are unlimited. The statements we have heard from you, from our father Brahma, through the ears, have now been actually realized by your kind appearance."
Right. So here the four Kumaras, they start off by saying, the first part is, Ya antarhita ridi gataha api duratmana. Antarhita ridi. The Lord is in the heart of every living entity, but those who are duratma. Right. And Prabhupada likes the translation of this word. He says rascals. We have Prabhupada often in lectures also he says the word rascal. So he translates this duratma as rascals, that even though the Lord is in the heart of everyone, but those who are rascals, they cannot actually see that form of the Lord. Yet you are now, you're not manifest to those. And then the second sentence, the second line says, Tvam sa adya eva sa nayana moolam ananta. That even the Lord, even though you're unlimited, you're Ananta, today we are actually seeing you. Nayana, face to face, we are actually able to see you. And then further they say, Eva karna vivarena guam gata pitra anuvarnita. So before we saw you, what? The Kumara saw the Lord before? How is it? And then they are saying, before we saw you by hearing the words from Brahmaji, our father. So we saw you through our intelligence before by hearing the words from Brahma, and now you are actually appearing in front of us face to face. Right? And yeah, so the statements that we heard from Brahma, those mysteries is now actually realized by your appearance. Udbhavena. Right? Udbhavena. By your appearance here, we are realizing those statements that Brahmaji spoke. So Prabhupada in the word purport, he talks of Duratma. Duratma means very crooked heart or the less intelligent. And here, knowing Prabhupada's mood, we can understand who are the Duratmas Prabhupada will talk about. Like even beyond just the sinful people, Duratma's Prabhupada talks about are the impersonalists. That's Prabhupada's mood. Pashat Desha Tarine. What does he do? To actually defeat all the Sunyavadis, right? So he says the impersonal impersonal Brahman, they actually who concentrate on the impersonal void but do not find the Paramatma in the heart, they are Duratma. That even though they are on a spiritual journey, but they are so attached to Brahman that they don't even search for the Lord in the heart. For them, the Lord does not manifest, even though he is in the heart. Right? So the first realization certainly is Brahman realization, but one should not be satisfied just by the Brahman realization. One should go further and seek the higher aspect of realization, finally coming to Bhagavan realization. Right? So, and because the four Kumaras were sincerely searching to see the person form of the Lord actually revealed himself to them. Right? Prabhupada also refers to a verse from Ishopanishad, which actually says, Pushan ekharshayam surya prajapatya vuyu rasmin samayo teja yatte rupam kalyanatam tatte pashyami yoso asau purusha soham asmi. This is a 16th Ishopanishad. It actually says, Oh Lord, please take away this bright effulgence around you so that I can see the personal form. Right? So similarly here, the four Kumaras are actually kind of referring to that point. That yeah, before we are attached to the impersonal, but now we are actually able to see your personal form. Why? Because of the mercy of Brahmaji, our father. Next verse, 47.
Tam tvam vidama bhagavan parama atma tattvam satvena sampratiratiim rachayantam esham yate nutapa viditar dridha bhakti yogair udgrantayo riddhi vidur munayo viragaha.
The translation. We know that you are the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality of Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way.
So here they say, now, samprati. So up to this point, we were actually attached to the Brahman realization. We have been jnanis, but now we have become your devotees. So tam videme, we know you as you are, as that same person that Lord Brahma actually explained to us. So Bhagwan, Param Atma Tattvam, you are the supreme absolute truth, the source of the Brahman. Now we have realized that. Satvena, your form is that of pure goodness, right? Ratim rachayantam esham. That actually means you produce rati in those who are actually residents of Vaikuntha. This form, the form of the Lord, that sweetness of the Lord produces rati in the heart of the devotees. And then te anutapa viditaya. Drida Bhakti Yoga. Then you can be understood only through Drida Bhakti Yoga, through unflinching devotional service. And because we perform Anutapa, Anutapa means this word came before also in the last few verses. Anupapa, we actually express that remorse, we actually express that mood of humility. And because of that, you are actually now manifesting to us. And then Udgrantaya Viragaha and Mune Haridaya. Right? When the hearts of the great sages are purified in bhakti without attachment to this, having that viraga, viraga means not interested in material life, without any other attachment, they can actually see you face to face. Only when all the contamination in the heart is taken away, then the devotee can see the Lord face to face. So Prabhupada makes the point that absolute truth can be realized in three features, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, but the last word is seeing the Lord face to face. And then in the purport further, Prabhupada says, towards the end of the purport, it said that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead when one is even slightly favored by Him. Otherwise, without His mercy, a man may speculate for thousands of years and not understand what is actually the absolute truth. Right? So when you read this, can anyone relate to any other point? Anything else that comes to your mind when you read this? It said that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead when one is even slightly favored by Him. Any verse that comes to your mind? So there's also, that's what I was pointing out last class also, that when we read Prabhupada's purport, you'll find statements which are actually translation of some other verses, right? So all full of Prabhupada's purports are filled with verses from other sections. So this is basically Brahma's prayer. So 10, 14, 29. Athapi te deva padambujadaya prasada leshanugrita evahi. Prasada, unless we receive the prasad, the mercy of the Lord, janati tattvam bhagwan mahimno. We cannot know the mahima of the Bhagwan, na chanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. Even if we actually speculate for thousands of years. So that one sentence is actually the translation of 10, 14, 29. Right? So interesting that that's what I was saying, like you read the purport, you have a game and find out all the verses that Prabhupada is quoting, but not actually directly quoting, but he's explaining those verses.
So it is also there in Gopinath Acharya and Sarvabhauma's conversation, Sarvam
Oh yeah,
Bhattacharya's.
the same verse is quoted there. Yes,
Verse
because
quoted, and Sarvam Bhattacharya is already, when Gopinath Acharya says that you cannot understand him because you have not got the mercy of the Lord.
Yeah, he gives all the evidences of the Lord, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, but then he says, unless you receive a drop of mercy of the Lord, you cannot, understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of God. Okay, 48.
Natyantikam viganayantyapite prasadam kimvan yadarpita bhayam bhuva unnayaste yen gatvarangri sharana bhavata kathaya kirtanya tirta yashasa kushalara sagya.
Hare Krishna. Persons who are very expert and most intelligent in understanding things as they are engaged in hearing narrations of the auspicious activities and pastimes of the Lord, which are worth chanting and worth hearing. Such persons do not care even for the highest material benediction, namely liberation, to say nothing of others less important benedictions like the material happiness of the heavenly kingdom. Hare Krishna.
So basically here is saying that te prasadam, those who have received that prasad, that mercy from the Lord, na atyantikam viga nayapanti. Like they do not actually care for atyantikam. Atyantikam means liberation. Those who are devotees of the Lord, do they care for liberation? No, they don't care. So what to speak of kim u anyat? What to speak of other kind of material happiness, even that of the post of Indra, right? So this one reference, and if someone can search, I wanted to search it, I didn't get the time to look into this. It says Bhayam Bhruva Unaite. Bhruva is the eyebrows of the Lord. Right? So they're saying what to speak of the post of Indra, in which fear is caused by the Lord raising his eyebrows. Anyone knows what is this referring to? It's saying that the post of Indra, so we do not desire for liberation, nor do we desire the post of Indra, Swargalok, where they're saying the post of Indra, in which there is fear caused by the Lord raising his eyebrows.
Maybe Lord Nrsimhadev.
Yeah, I thought about that, Lord Nrsimhadev, but I wasn't very sure whether that.
Even Govardhan pastime, Prabhu. I mean, he made Krishna angry. Anyways.
But is there, I don't remember a description where the Lord raised his eyebrows and then that caused fear in
It happened. Everybody is under one roof.
So anyway, that's something you can search, like why Bhagavatam is making that. So there must be some particular story about this, how Indra got fearful when the Lord raised his eyebrows. So I was thinking of Nrsimhadev, or I was thinking of that 10th canto where it describes that how when the Lord actually he got the things.
Parijata tree.
Which one, bro?
Is that the Parijata tree?
Yeah, Parijata tree. Yeah, that was one I was thinking. So anyway, okay, and then further he says, "Ye anga tvam angri sevana." Those devotees who have taken shelter of your lotus feet, for them they don't care for liberation nor that post of Indra. Why? Kushala rasagya. Because these devotees are very expert, or they are knowers of rasa. Rasagya. They know the rasa. They are actually relishing that rasa. And because they relish the rasa of what? Bhavata kataya. The narrations, your glories, kirtanya, they are actually always engaged in chanting your glories, your activities, your pastimes. And because they are glorifying your pastimes and they're getting rasa out of it, they do not care for anything else, liberation or what to talk of post of Indra. So this verse is actually making the point that why would someone not care for liberation? I mean, this material world is filled with so many problems, so many difficulties. So isn't it natural someone aspires for liberation? But the point is meant that when we actually hear Harikatha, we speak Harikatha, there is so much rasa in that, so much nectar, that everything else seems insignificant. And devotee said, what to have for liberation? Even if you send me to hellish condition, I don't care as long as I can hear Harikatha, I can speak Harikatha. That is the mood of devotee, right? So they are glorifying that aspect here. And Prabhupada starts the purport by saying that transcendental bliss enjoyed by the devotees of the Lord is completely different from material happiness enjoyed by less intelligent persons, right? Because the devotees, they experience this rasagya, right? That they rasa with Krishna. They are actually experiencing that, and there's no comparison with the happiness that the materialistic actually experience, right? Right. And Prabhupada talks of the 5 kinds of liberations. The least important is the sayujya. But devotees don't care for even the positive, right? What is the positive? Samipya, Salokya, Shashti, right? Swarupya. So these 4 positive. And then sayujya. So sayujya for sure they don't consider. But even the 4 they don't aspire for. Right? They don't aspire for it because they are more interested in just engaging in glorifying the Supreme Lord and his activities. So that Shravanam Kirtanam is the essence of the entire process of bhakti. And that rasa that we get in Shravanam Kirtanam, that is actually beyond any comparison. What to talk of liberation, it is even beyond the happiness of Brahmanda. And further, Prabhupada says, from Vedic scriptures, we understand that sometimes even Brahma and Indra fall down, but the devotee in the transcendental abode of the Lord never falls down. This transcendent stage of life, in which one feels transcendental pleasure in hearing the Lord's pastime, is also recommended by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, what is this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talking to Ramananda Rai? Which verse is this? Anyone know? So here it actually says that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he rejected all because he was asking Ramananda Rai, tell me what is the goal of life, right? And whatever Ramananda Rai was saying, Eho bhaya age kaha ara. This is external. Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And even Sarva Dharma Parityajya, he said. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, that is also external. Imagine Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's saying Sarva Dharma Parityajya is external. Saying tell higher. And finally, when Ramananda Rai comes to this one shloka, which Prabhupada is saying, that's actually from Bhagavatam, 10 canto, Prayers of Brahmaji, 14, text number 3, 10:14:3. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukaritam bhavadiya vartam stane sita sutigatam tanuvan manoperiye prayaso jito jita api asya traisya trilokyam. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes this verse, then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, yes, this is good. Now go deeper. Up to this point, he says it's all external. But when he said this, right? So hence Prabhupada says that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he rejected all the other levels. But when Ramananda Rai actually said this, Jnane prayasa udapasya namanta eva. We should actually give up that process of speculation, right? And what should we do? Jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam. Bhavadiya vartam referring to topics related to you. Sat mukharitam. Sat means devotees. Mukharitam means who actually speak, right? So when what we should do? We should stane sita sutigatam tanvan manve. Stane sita, wherever you are, be in that position. But do what? Shrutigatam. You hear the topics spoken by your devotees and tanu van manobhir. With your body, with your words, and with your mind, you offer obeisances to these topics. Then what happens? Ajito jitopi. The one who is unconquerable, he becomes conquered. You can conquer the unconquerable just by offering obeisances by our body, with our mind, with our words to topics of Harikatha. Right? So this verse is actually glorifying how that kirtanya tirtha yashaha. It's actually a tirtha, that hearing the holy, the pastimes of the Lord, that itself is a tirtha, that itself is a holy place, that itself is, the spiritual world in one way. So yeah. So they say like these people don't even aspire for liberation or Swargaloka. Okay. It's okay? All right. 49. Let's continue. Last 2 verses.
Ramam Vavasva Vijinarvirayeshu Nastaj Cheto Rivadyadinte Padayorameta Vachascha Nastulasi Vadyaditengri Shobhaha Purye tate gunaganar karnarandraha.
Translation. O Lord, we pray that you let us be born in any hellish condition of life, just as long as our hearts and minds are always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. Our words are made beautiful by speaking of your activities, just as tulsi leaves are beautified when offered unto your lotus feet, and as long as our ears are always filled with the chanting of your transcendental qualities. Hare Krishna.
So here we see what? Body, words, mind. BMW, right? This comes again and again. I quoted that verse. That also BMW. Then even in the who was here? I think Mukunda Prabhu. He was quoting like so many verses where he talks of engagement of the body, mind, and words. So here they say, Kama Bhava Swa Vrijinai Nirayeshu. That because we have cursed your own devotees, we may be sent to lower species of life, to the low birth, but we are actually praying that wherever we are sent, what do we want? Chetaha alivat, te padayo rameta. That our hearts and our mind always engage in padayo, service to the lotus feet. Engage in service to your lotus feet. Right? That's first one. Right? Chetaha, the mind. Second, vachaha, our words. What should our words do? Our words should always speak Harikatha. And further, it says, Tulasi vat angri shobha. Just like when Tulsi is offered to the lotus feet of Krishna, then Tulsi becomes more beautiful. Similarly, let our words become beautiful by always speaking Harikatha. The second one. And third is Karna Randra. How should we engage our body? Our ears whole should be filled with the transcendental Guna Ganahi. All the qualities of the Lord should actually fill into our ears. And that's how. So even if we go to lower species, all we want is our ears should be filled with Harikatha, our words should speak Harikatha, and mind should always be engaged in service to your lotus feet. That is our only desire. So Prabhupada in this purport, he actually says that how the sages are offering their humility. Why humility? Because they are actually saying that, we cursed Jay and Vijay. So for this will be sent to the lower planets. We accept that. But, so this is similar to how Jay and Vijay said, right? Jay and Vijay said, we'll be sent to the material world, but let us not lose the smriti of you. And here, yeah, we will be sent to the lower world, but let us always engage our vachaha, our chetaha, and our karna in your service. Right. So Prabhupada says this is a sign of a devotee of the Lord. Narayana parasarve na kutaschana vibhyati swarga apavarga narkeshu api tulyartha darshana. What is a devotee? That he is fearless. Narayana para, right? He is a devotee of the Lord. Na kutaschana vibhyati. There's no fear in the devotee. Swarga apavarga narkeshu. Whether he goes to Swarga, right, a heavenly planet, or he goes to Apavarga, liberation, or he goes to hellish condition, he is not fearful. Why? Everything is Tulyartha Darshana, because he sees everything with an equal vision. He is only interested in service to the Supreme Personality of God. Right. Then further Prabhupada talks about our words, right? Our words should always speak Harikatha. And he says that even if someone is speaking very nice ornamental language, his words are very decorated, very poetic, but if he is not speaking Harikatha, then that is place of pilgrimage for who? The crows, right? So which is that verse? Anyone knows? 1:5:10.
Prabhu, I'm remembering Tadvag Visargajam, even if grammatical mistake.
That is 11. So 10 is actually na yad vachaschitra padam hare yasho. Even if it's very decorated words, very poetic words, but if it's not glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then simply there is a place of pilgrimage for the crows. Right? Na yad vachaschitra padam hare yasho jagat pavitram praginita karichit. Tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa na yatra hamsa niramanti ushikshaya. So 159. So here also we see Prabhupada is actually making that point. But does he directly refer to it? Yeah. So see, again here, Prabhupada is making the sentence, he's not directly referring to the verse, but we know that the verse is 1510 that Prabhupada is explaining. Right? And he gives the example of Tulsi. The Tulsi has a lot of medicinal value, right? If you go to an Ayurvedic store, you'll find Tulsi cough syrup, Tulsi this, Tulsi that, right? Tulsi like soap, all those things. With Tulsi, they are making all these things. But is that really the glory of Tulsi? No. If Tulsi is not used to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, then you have missed the whole point. Similarly, our words may be very decorated, very poetic. It may be like, oh, sounding so nice. But if it's not glorifying the Lord, then you have missed the whole point. Okay. So ears also Prabhupada talks about. Like why the ear holes are compared to sky? Because can you ever fill the sky? Can never fill the sky. The sky can always, how much ever you speak, the sky will always accept. Similarly, the ear holes. What is there in the holes? Air or ether, right? The ether is there, which is like the sky. And that can always be filled with Harikatha, but it will never be filled. Never be filled. So you have to keep filling the ears with Harikatha. Okay, last verse.
50. Pradushchakarta yadidam purubhuta rupam enesha nirvritim avapuralam drishonaha tasmaidam bhagavate nama idvidhema yonatmanam durudayo bhagavan pratitaha.
O Lord, we offer our respectful obeisances unto your eternal form as the personality of Godhead, which you have so kindly manifested before us. Your supreme eternal form cannot be seen by unfortunate, less intelligent persons, but we are so much satisfied in our mind and vision to see it. Hare Krishna.
So here they're concluding this part of the prayers where they're saying, "O Lord, you have made us drink the nectar of direct association, direct darshan of you, even though we are offenders. Even though we offended your devotees, you have made us drink the nectar of the sweetness of your form." Right? So pradushcha karta rupam. You have manifested your eternal form. Namaha videma. We offer our obeisances to that form of yours. Puruhuta. O greatly worshipped Lord. Right? And then he says, Tena Isha Nivritam Avapa Alam Drishaha. Right? We are often so much satisfaction to our vision and satisfaction to our intellect, to our mind. Just by seeing this form of the Lord, we are feeling so much satisfied. Yet Anatmanam and Duru Dayaha. But this form cannot be seen by those who are Anatmanam. Atmanam means Atma, soul. Anatma, one way without soul. Right? So that means basically that those who do not worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead are just like lifeless. They don't have a soul. So those people who do not worship the Lord, they will never see the form of the Lord. Right? So, right. Example is given. Just like a sun is difficult to see for those who are owls. You know, like whose fault is it? The owls can never see the sun because they open their eyes only at night, right? So similarly, those who do not worship the Lord, they are just like anatman. They cannot see the the form of the Lord face to face. So Prabhupada compares, like, initially what? They were the impersonalists, the four Kumaras. By the mercy of Brahma, they actually became devotees. So they are not fully satisfied initially, right? And now they are satisfied in all respects. Right? Initially, they couldn't appreciate, even though they heard from Brahma, they couldn't appreciate the sweetness because they were devoid of that devotional eyesight. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochana. Okay. One more point for you. For the impersonalists and so-called yogis, the Lord is always hidden by the curtain of Yogamaya. Which verse is this? Curtain of Yogamaya?
Maya Javanikachan.
Yes. Maya Javanam Agyadosham Avyayam Na Lakshay Mudadrisha Nato Natya Dharmata. Right? So when you read the purports, try to find verses that Prabhupada is actually referring to. Like here he just says that, but he does not refer what verse he's talking to. And then see the next sentence. Bhagavad Gita says that even when Lord Krishna was seen by everyone while he was present on the surface of the world, the impersonalists and so-called yogis could not see him because they were devoid of devotional eyesight. Which verse is this? Bhagavad Gita?
Avajananti Mamuda.
Okay, yeah. That's also one, but I was thinking of this Naham Prakasha Sarvasya Yoga Maya Samavita. I'm not visible to everyone. I am actually covered by my Yoga Maya. Yes. Okay, so that's how this chapter ends. And so this is a very nice chapter. So hence we spent few classes on this chapter and, description of the spiritual world. Then that entire episode, Four Kumaras, Jay and Vijay, what was the mood of devotees, how they actually, by their repentance, by their inner humility, they attracted bhakti, and by that bhakti, the Lord was attracted. And how these four Kumaras, when the fragrance of the Tulasi offered to the lotus feet of the Lord enters into their nostrils, how it caused the transformation in their consciousness, and then how they offer these prayers, where they're praying that even if we are sent to the lower planets, all we want to engage our vachaha, our mind, right? So vachaha is words. We want to engage our words in glorifying you. Our chetaha, we want to engage our mind in serving you. And then our body, our karna randha, in always hearing your pastimes. That's our prayer. Now, next chapter, basically now, the Lord actually, he will start speaking in response to these prayers. And then we'll see what happens. Okay. The next class, we will discuss the next chapter, chapter 16. I think we can complete chapter 16 next class. Though it is 37, the first few verses, we can go a little fast. Okay. So thank you all so much. Any final comments, questions, realizations?
I want to share that I was appreciating how I never knew that part, that the Kumars had heard from Brahma about the Lord, and it was intellectual knowledge, but not realized knowledge. But just the fact that they heard, that already started their journey, and then also Krishna showed himself to them, revealed himself. That's something that, it's up to Krishna when he wants to reveal himself. But on our part, we associate with devotees and just try to hear, even if it's just intellectual, that intellectual hearing someday will manifest into realization where Krishna will reveal himself to us. And then I was also appreciating how Krishna is so kind that he came without shoes. He just came on his bare feet so that they could see his lotus feet. That he came with Lakshmi so that they could experience the bliss of the Vladini potency. How Krishna is doing all these arrangements to give them so much mercy. So this Krishna is so kind that even the smallest detail Krishna arranged so that they could get that mercy.
Okay. Yeah. That point you're mentioning about how Brahma actually, when they spoke, so in text number 40, when they're the first of their prayers, right? So 46, when they actually said we heard from Brahma, in that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes a point that when we heard from Brahma, that hearing itself, we were sure that sometime this will actually be realized. So when we hear from those pure devotees, we are hearing Harikatha, they describe the form of the Lord. Because they are describing to us, that itself is their mercy upon us. That means sometime we will see the Lord face to face. So that's how the four Kumaras are. Nice. Thank you. Any other points? Realization?
I was thinking many other places throughout the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, CC, we hear Prabhupada mentioning about impersonalists and how to stay away from that philosophy. But this is a very good section where they also have Lord has arranged a chance for even them through the medium of devotees. So quite interesting.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you for that. That's such an important section on from impersonalism to personalism. You can give a whole next. Someone has to give a Sunday feast class. You can select this from impersonalism to personalism and tell this whole pastime. Very nice theme. Thank you.
Realize the point that why the devotees don't care for liberation, because when they are hearing Harikatha, there is so much nectar that they don't want to go anywhere else.
Yes. Yeah, what to talk of Swarga Loka? Even liberation, they don't care because so much nectar. We see how, like, Prabhupada said, oh, we'll go to hell, we'll preach Harikatha there. What is there? So fearless in that. Thank you. Any other points? Let's stop.
So I was wondering how, the Lord, why his Bhagavan is, he could do with one single pastime, he has done like unlimited, attainments. Like, say like by his single glance, by his single smile, by his hand on Garuda, by blessing, all things are sorted. Like, also that regarding this glance, probably I was remembering when we were reading the Krishna's departure from Dwarka, from Hastinapur, and then
Yes.
he was glancing over the ladies on, with somewhat got the glance, somewhat got a smile, so that is like he's giving to people who wants to be his madhurya, he wants to be in his, and that same glances are getting to Jai Vijay, who becomes Hiranyakshi Hiranya.
I mean, and that itself is the point to Jay and Vijay that, actually it's not your fault. Like, because they were thinking that we did someone Bhagavad Pratikula. So they were thinking like, oh, now the Lord is not happy with us. And immediately, just at glance, it touched their core and heart. Krishna is there. Everything will be fine. So nice.
I mean, Prabhu, I was thinking that we might not really spend that much time in this chapter, but because there are small purports, some of the verses doesn't even have purport. But this is so
So much nectar in this past, and that's why, like, like one way I was thinking like, okay, let's do this, and then I was thinking like we'll cover up to text 15 of the next chapter, but it's just like so many details are there we don't want to skip. It's like so much nectar. So, okay. Anything else? Stop here. So 9:15.
Prabhuji, why four Kumaras are impersonalist before? Because did they associate with anyone or they're born like that?
No,
Why?
just that they did not have realization of the personal form. They heard about the personal form, they did not get the realization. See, every sadhaka, based on, like, whom is coming in contact with, they has a journey. So for the four Kumaras, their journey was they were going from Brahman realization to Paramatma to Bhagavan. That was like, how, because many spiritualists, they progress in this way. Like first realization Brahman, then they go beyond, So they had reached Brahman realization. But now, by the mercy of Brahma and this entire pastime, they reached Bhagavan realization. It's not that they associated with impersonal, but they were on their journey to perfection and they had come to the point of Brahman realization.
Yeah.
So, Prabhu, when we were reading the Krama Mukti, is this could be same, like, progressive development?
Yeah, progressive in the sense like they're just going from the three phases of realization. Like, see, anyone who appears in the creation, like not necessarily they're devotees of the Lord, right? Not pure devotees, not Bhagavan realized. Like we read about Brahma, he's creating all these personalities, like four Kumaras and Rudra, then the 10 sages. No, we cannot say the 10 sages are like pure devotees of the Lord. Right? So everyone, in spite of they having that glorious position of being a Prajapati or son of Brahma, they may not be pure devotees. They may be at a particular realization. So four Kumaras were at Brahman realization. Right? And then this pastime takes them beyond. So that's why it says like, being a devotee of the Lord, that position is most glorious position. More glorious than even being like a Prajapati or son of Brahma or whatever.
But it's not coincidence, Prabhu, because Krishna has given those jivas in the in the stem of Brahmaji to create who will eventually become these diseases, and he also has some who will become like Narad Muni,
Yeah.
So.
Prabhuji, I was thinking about, how Kumaras were impersonalists, but they were not devotees of Krishna. But Krishna still gave, the realization of the Bhagavan. But to his devotees, they were cursed. But then I was thinking, why is that disparity? And then also realization came that maybe Krishna is giving them a chance to be part of, in the rasa exchange. Maybe that's the type of the grace he's bestowed on them. Yeah, I was thinking why Kumaras, even though they cursed his own devotees, they got that realization and mercy. But the mercy came in a different way for Jaya Vijay.
The next chapter we'll discuss about this, like how the Lord speaks to the four Kumaras and how he actually speaks to Jay and Vijay. Because finally it's like, who is more dear? Finally, Jay and Vijay, like how can we, and the four Kumaras are impersonal and they came to personal, but Jay and Vijay are the associates of the Lord. Who can be more dear than Jay and Vijay, right? In that Vaikuntha mood. So we'll see like how in the next chapter, how he actually relates to Jay and Vijay in the four Kumaras. Okay, so let's stop here. Srila Prabhupada की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय वंचा कल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो. Thank you all so much for joining. So please do come to the temple soon. We'll have Rath Yatra, Jagannath Rath Yatra. From 2 p.m. we start decorating, and then 4 p.m. onwards we'll have Kirtan, class by Maharaj, and Rath Yatra ceremony. So there may be some rain. Right now it is around 1:32. There may be some rain, but after that, at least now it shows it should be fine. So it should be good. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandvat Pranam.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the Hari Katha nectar.
Hare Krishna.